after party.
Are we starting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to mix our mics as we're talking.
I'm about to, well, then I'll just bring up what
Actually, I don't have to at all because they're perfecto.
I'll bring up what I was going to talk about off air then. So I'm putting together another TeePublic store for Separator.
What's Separator,
Which
Jay?
is just fun. It's my music project. Yeah, it's cool. I want to buy my own merchandise. How mad will you be if I just go on a spree buying a bunch of Separator stuff and I think I only have like one Sight and Sound shirt?
I'm wearing the original black Illuminati design of the Sight and Sound shirt. I think it's still my favorite.
Yeah, I think I might do some more stuff with that logo.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks.
I spent a lot of time.
That was awkward. You were just staring me down.
I spent a lot of time on that one.
Did you?
I don't remember. I don't think it matters.
We're going to do an after party.
Why are we doing this?
I don't know, because
it's just one of those weeks. Listen,
we're just, I'm sure there's plenty of big stuff to talk about. I'm sure there is. But we're in one of those moods where we're just discounting whatever. Like, we're disregarding the fact that Atlanta, Jessica Jones, all this stuff's going on. Looming Tower, all these TV shows are going on. We're about to transition from Counterpart to Let's Talk Legion. I saw I can throw out some of my Tomb Raider takes later on, but Ready Player One and South by, all that stuff came out.
You're basically going to do all the stuff that you were going to do on your movie shows?
Yeah.
That's fine. I get it.
You know what killed the movie show?
What's that?
It was that terrible week where my grandfather passed.
Yeah, I figured that was probably the case.
And I just haven't been able to get back into the groove. I did a Justice League commentary with my friend Eric, and I posted in the group that it was going to go out, and then the file was erased. And so Ryan Ucci, another friend of mine who's in Brave the Storm, he was like, "Here, download this program, and maybe you can recover your..." Couldn't recover it.
Yeah.
So not only is that project gone, but a lot of other audio projects that I had are gone. So I might record another Justice League commentary on my own. But
yeah, people like the commentaries. There's some things. Listen, we keep our ear to the ground on a lot of the different trends that are going on the old YouTube and this and that. It is still baffling to me that people like reaction videos so much, and people like things like commentary so much. Things that I think are just kind of throwaway content. That's fine. That's me. But like for some reason, I went on a rabbit hole of looking at Hyper RPG, their channel today, and I realized like they have like 70,000 followers, but their video count in terms of how many people watch their stuff, it's actually not that big. Like they do probably sub 10,000 views on pretty much everything they do. So I was like, what's their most viewed content? And it's trailer reactions, because they have like 1 million views on their first, I think, Infinity War trailer reaction. And the way they do it is interesting. They have like a huge room of people that do it, which I think is kind of cool. But they're also a channel that doesn't really feel like a channel. Like they don't have their flagship shows. They just kind of do videos.
Right.
Which I guess is fine. I guess that's kind of what we do, but kind of not too. I don't know.
I thought that they would be bigger. Not gonna lie.
I did too. Yeah.
Not gonna lie. I thought that because they have a lot of the crossover personalities that we see on Collider and things like that.
It's niche.
So Screen Junkies. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. Again, feels like it's one of those weeks where...
Should we explain what Hyper RPG is, I guess, for people? There's probably a lot of people that don't know.
It's a gaming... It's centered on geekery.
Yeah,
and
not
on Twitch.
Not specifically games either, like tabletop games, like collectible card games, board games, this and that.
If you could put a camera inside a comic book shop any day of the week, you would have Hyper RPG.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when I heard that name, I was like, okay, is it about gaming? But it's always, again, these same people that talk about movies and TV on Screen Junkies or whatever. So it was like, I felt like SpongeBob going to rock bottom when I first discovered Twitch for the first time. It's like, what is this? What's over in this corner? It's these people?
Oh, my God.
Talking about other things?
Let's talk about Twitch for a second. Did you hear the huge news about Twitch this week?
Amazon bought them out.
No.
That news is like 5 years old.
So do you know the huge news about Twitch?
I guess
Why
not.
Everybody freaked out?
I guess not.
So there's listen, I'm 30. I don't know what games people are playing these days. There's some game that people are playing, and there's some big gamer on there named Ninja.
Fortnite?
Yes.
Okay, my sister will come in here. Maybe if she gets back home, I'd like to have her. She can play Fortnite as we podcast.
Are you serious? She's like into this game?
Yes.
Okay,
She made me download it on my Xbox so that when she's home this weekend.
I don't even know what it is.
Huh?
I don't even know what it is. I'm so 30.
Let me talk to you about Fortnite.
Fuck my life.
Let me talk to you about Fortnite. And there might be people that are listening to this that know a lot.
I feel awful right now.
Why?
That somebody is having to explain a video game to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to explain it well. That's sort of what I'm getting at. There's probably a listener of ours that probably plays Fortnite religiously.
I don't have enough time to care about video games.
I don't even know how right I will be when describing this to you, but I'm only going off of what I've seen her do.
I'm hoping to... Is this a fake take?
No, it's 100% real.
I want you to give a fake take about Fortnite.
So for those of you who don't know, I have a younger sister in college named Taylor. And she... she's a college athlete, so I don't get to see her often, but she's been home a couple times. And when she's here, she forces me to watch her play this Fortnite because I have the Xbox in my room. She forced me to download Fortnite.
Dude,
I got it.
You need to get her a Twitch account, branded as Sight and Sound, and we can make so much money off of her without her knowing.
That's probably true. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to figure out how I can con her into doing that. But anyway, she'll sit here, and basically what you do is you have your player. It's like a shooter, but it's not like a Call of Duty shooter. And because Call of Duty, at least how I play it, it's a very I don't play conservatively at all. You're always sprinting around, just trying to find somebody to kill. You can't take that approach with this game. It starts off, all of these players are in this like blimp, and as it flies over this massive map, and you get to choose when you jump off, but it's a sandbox at the same time, so all of you are pitted up against each other. It's a free-for-all, and it's like 100 players, and the last one standing wins, king of the hill, if you will. And so you're around there, but you also have the ability to build things,
so it's kind of like Minecraft in that regard.
So you go around and you open up chests and you get ammo or like an axe or something like that. So when you see a tall building and you want to like hunker down and like protect yourself, you can build steps. They're not really steps, they're ramps to get to the building and to drop in through the roof and like things like that. So you could also build the walls around you, that way people can't shoot at you. And it's like a building, it's like a builder's shooter, or it's really, really strange.
Okay.
And I don't think it's fun at all, as a matter of fact. Like, maybe it's because I'm terrible at it, but I played it with her and I did not find it fun at all. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, so anyways, the big news about Twitch is that this guy Ninja, who I guess is the best Fortnite player in the world, he was live streaming, and he ended up playing with Drake and Travis Scott and some athlete, some other NFL athlete, I think. And they got, I think, close to, or maybe they hit 1 million live viewers at once.
That's amazing.
And it went crazy. So just knowing this, what do you think was the next thing that happened, like, for me to notice about this whole thing? Who do you think I saw talking about it immedially after that?
Fantano?
No, but that would be great.
I don't know who.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh,
started blasting out all this stuff. Is like, I've been on Twitch for a minute. Like him praising Twitch for like the last 3 years, like one of those Instagram videos of him just being like, the next big thing is Twitch. The next big thing is Twitch. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I went into like a live stream of him on Instagram where he was like doing it from a train. And he was like talking about
gotta document this train.
He was like talking about how he's building a Twitch studio in VaynerMedia for him. And I'm just like,
I know someone from Frankfurt that works at VaynerMedia.
Twitch has been a huge thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Though. And I've gone on record as saying that I love how it's been built on the back of video gaming. I think it's really cool. But I think the best thing that it has going for it is that it is the place to go for live streaming. Like I like that YouTube has live streaming on it, but I don't think it's the proper platform that's built specifically for live streaming. I think Twitch should be the place. Like I think Collider Movie Talk should be filmed on, or should be done on Twitch. And then take that and put it over there.
Is the video quality there? Because every time I've seen a Twitch video, it's never.
So I think
it's never quite as good.
I think it's kind of down to the user itself, obviously, and their equipment and this and that. But you have to think, for instance, audio, like podcasting stuff.
Right.
It's great that we put our stuff on Spotify, but it's lost in the mix with all the other stuff, right? We value iTunes so much because iTunes, yes, iTunes had all that stuff, but they built their backbone for podcasting there.
Yeah.
Whereas Twitch exists and it built its backbone on live streaming. So you have to think about all the
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
It's like it just the video quality isn't there though. Whereas when you're watching Collider Movie Talk every day as it's live streaming, unless it's just completely lagging,
right,
and you need to buffer, it's a perfect stream. Whereas it's very
That's
pixelated when you watch pretty much anything on Twitch. And
That's true.
I don't know if it's just because the information of a streaming game, it might just be just absurd, the amount of data a streaming video game has compared to, a live video or whatever. But I've just never really liked the quality of video on Twitch.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched enough Twitch stuff, but I like the idea.
It just seems like it's not there yet, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's me just being spoiled, but
they're still, they're a big company, but they're still a small company in the sense where
an Amazon company.
Well, that's true. They did just get bought by Amazon, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the few. I think most of these companies that come out that build their model on one thing, it's more interesting to think about them. What else can we do with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody was mentioning recently about Instagram. One of the fascinating things, because of their shitty algorithm and how, like, you can see a post for the first time a week later.
Right. It's not chronological at all anymore.
That most people aren't even looking at their feeds anymore. They're just immediately going to the
stories.
Like, that's the first thing they do.
It's funny. My aunt and my cousin, her daughter, they are partners with, I don't know how to call it. It's essentially a pyramid scheme, selling makeup.
Yeah.
So they partner with like a Mary Kay or some. I think it's Roden and Fields.
You know what happens when you get older? You get invited to those parties where they tried to. Have you ever been to one of those?
Well, no.
Oh, it's so fucking weird.
Anyway, I was trying to do my Gary Vaynerchuk thing and talk to them about Instagram and how they could really do well for themselves on Instagram, blah blah blah. And so they've been doing it. And my aunt asked me the other day. She goes, "I'm trying to master Instagram, but what are stories?" And I'm sitting there thinking, and like, I have no idea how to explain what an Instagram story is, because everything that I come up with will sound like how she knows Instagram to be, like on the feed itself. Right. So I was like, I don't know. Let me just show you.
Have you ever?
I could not describe Instagram stories at all. And then she was like, what about Snapchat? That sounds like Snapchat. And I was like, yeah, it is. It is Snapchat. Snapchat stories, same thing.
Have you ever been a part of an app for a long time and then dropped off of it and tried to go back to it later? Because this is what I'm going through with Snapchat right now. I just don't really get on Snapchat ever anymore.
Right.
And I tried to get on there the other day, and I didn't even know how to use it.
Was it the first time you had seen the new update or whatever?
Yes, and to where like all the stories are like wrapped in with your. What an awful user experience.
Yeah.
It's trash.
Yeah.
I mean, Snapchat's under some heavy scrutiny right now. You want to talk about that?
They're going to revert back to it.
Do you know
that part, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't know
They got so many complaints that they're reverting back to how it used to be.
That never happens, it seems like.
The last time I remember anything like that happening was when Xbox One was announced.
Yeah.
A few years ago when they announced that it wouldn't have backwards compatibility and things like that.
Yeah.
People. What do you mean? Yeah, that's huge.
No, it's huge, but it's huge, but like
the user forced the company to change their mind.
Yeah.
And put that back into the system.
But there's all kinds of things. Like, do you remember there was like a period where Facebook changed how it operated like 4 times in a year? I feel like it was like a bunch of things, and people were freaking the fuck out about, and they just were like, no, we don't care.
The really big Facebook thing was Timeline. When they introduced Timeline, and everything was, I don't know how to explain it. It looked like a timeline.
YouTube,
and
YouTube changes all the time too.
Yeah, I reverted back. I don't know if you.
For those who don't know, a timer went off as if we should stop talking. Like we were on around the horn or something like that.
The reason why that's funny to me is that was my dryer going off, and we never have that buzzer on.
Really?
Yeah,
it just doesn't. Happen?
We don't use a dryer buzzer. So I think my sister knew that we were recording and playing a prank on it. But anyway, what were we talking about?
We're talking about updates on social media.
Yeah, when Facebook announced Timeline, that was really huge because I remember the video coming out. It was like this press conference, and I watched the video. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, but not a lot of people liked it.
Right. It's usually like that. Like,
well, it goes back to, I think it goes back to the fact that people initially don't like change, but they also get used to it very quickly.
It's strange though, because I feel like some companies build their excitement around change like that. Like Apple, Apple events and announcing new products is a pretty big thing. People tune in. I watch them. But it seems like as of late, that company, I remember the last one they announced was like one of the first ones where I feel like most people pulled away from it being like, really? This is it? People are still not on board with like the iPhone 10 with, no buttons, and even I've used it and I'm like, I don't fucking know about this. Like this is kind of dumb. This is some dumb shit. But what else was I about to bring? Oh, so Snapchat, they're under heavy fire right now because of this whole Rihanna, Chris Brown domestic violence thing that's going on right now. Are you familiar with this story?
He's hit Rihanna a lot.
Well, he has, that's for sure. But they did one of those stupid fucking posts that they do where it's like pop culture funny things, but one was like, would you rather punch Chris Brown in the face or slap Rihanna?
Oh god.
And she came out and was like, this company is trash.
And do you remember the company?
What?
Who was it again?
Snapchat.
Okay.
Yeah, their stock dropped significantly.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
After that?
Yes. After she came out and was like, ugh. Yeah. What the fuck are you thinking?
That is terrible.
It's so fucking terrible. Stupid.
Wow.
Like, I'm already so off of Snapchat anyways.
Did you see the voting results?
Of what? Of that? No, I didn't. I didn't see it. But
I was gonna say, if slapping Rihanna was up there, I would have to puff my chest at the entire country, because you're obviously a moron if you want to slap Rihanna.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Rihanna fan in general of like her music, but I'll tell you what won me over recently was
her looks.
No, was her performance on the Grammys when she performed with, was it Cardi B and Bryson Tiller?
I don't know who that is.
All about that life. I thought it was fantastic. I thought she just had a
lot of fun. I've mentioned it before, but Snapchat's what makes me feel old, and I'm not old. Because when I see people like just Cardi B show up on Snapchat, I'm like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah, our presence on Instagram.
There's apparently another Demi.
Is Demi Lovato?
It's another Demi.
Demi Moore?
No.
Demigod.
Is it Demigod?
I don't know. Is she
a very top heavy woman?
How dare you? Wow.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
That's what Snapchat likes to show off, is this Demi and her latest bikini.
We've essentially gone non-existent on Instagram, our presence on the Sight and Sound Instagram. I think a lot of what that is I just don't know what to post half the time. Just like I don't want it just to be regurgitated information. However, what I think we should pick back up is the stories. Let's just start doing more stories. Let's do it. Should I do it right now? I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to get into my phone. But
sure,
we should do that.
Why not?
More behind the scenes stuff. Let's make Gary V proud.
We could do it on Facebook though. We have a group that also has Facebook has stories now.
We could just do both.
Yeah, we could do both. Do you remember when Instagram got?
Let's trade off. Like one week I'll do Instagram, you do Facebook, and then we'll swap.
I hate that idea.
Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you remember when Instagram went to video? Back in the day when they were challenging Vine, like it was.
Yes. It just made a lot of sense.
They came out with video and they went to 15 seconds. And I remember I worked at the public pool when all of this happened. So all of us had our phones out, updated Instagram, and we were all just filming our own videos. And it was great.
How long ago was this?
Huh?
How long ago was this?
Whenever Instagram came out with video, right after
it wasn't
Vine.
that long ago.
Huh?
Seems like it wasn't that long ago.
But that's how fast social media changes. Like it feels like.
I know. I watched Gary Vaynerchuk.
We're flashing back to all these pivotal social media moments, but because it moves so fast, we're only talking about something that happened like 3 years ago.
How resistant were you to getting off MySpace? Like, how long did you hang on to MySpace? I was
so into MySpace.
I fucking love MySpace. I miss MySpace.
I do miss it too.
Yeah,
I do.
But was our use of MySpace? How tied into the music scene do you think our love of MySpace was?
It had a lot to do with it.
I agree.
We interacted with bands on MySpace in ways that we can't otherwise.
Right.
Booking shows and learning more about, like, that was the best way to learn more about bands that you were going to go play a show with.
So much business could have been done on MySpace, or was done on MySpace.
So when I was in a band, we used MySpace. We would become friends with other local bands in other areas, and if we had a show, say up in Indiana, we could go preview their music.
Yeah.
Before we got there and to see what they sounded like, or if a band asked us to be on a show, we could decide based on their music. And it's just you can still do that nowadays. You just have to go around a few more things to do it. Or maybe it's a little bit easier if they have like YouTube comment up. But
yeah,
it was just way easier on MySpace because you could do it by location as well. Like you could search local bands in any city you wanted. A lot of booking happened there, and just being able to have music implemented to it was amazing.
Yeah, I feel like at one point social media got. I remember one of the things about MySpace that I found interesting is the fact that it seemed like everybody had just a very truncated website for themselves, like an easy to make, and you could just learn so much about going on somebody's MySpace profile.
Facebook doesn't feel like my website.
That's what I was about to say. Like, how often do you spend going on individual people's specific accounts? Like, I'll do that for Instagram, but there's only so much you can really learn about somebody, like just by looking at pictures, you know?
It's non-existent. It's not existent for Twitter. Do you ever go to someone's Twitter account and just spend some time there like you would on MySpace?
The only time I'll do that is if I'm like curious. Like, for instance, if I'm curious to know what's going on with like a specific like Collider thing, I might go to Christian's actual Twitter profile, especially if there's like drama going on. I'll go there and like
read his replies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But other than that, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird though to think about? Like, it just seems like we've navigated it's all about the feed.
Right. You basically just aggregate what you want to see. And
right.
Put it all in one place as opposed to hunting something down on social media. Unless you're like a freak stalker.
Which the way on MySpace, the way you got that, so there was really no feed. The only feed that existed was that bulletin board.
Bulletin post, yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a small aspect of it.
Yeah.
I loved designing. I loved creating background.
That was the best thing, was the
creating
customization.
my background and coloring the boxes or just completely changing, because the default MySpace layout, when you look back at it, it's so dated and ugly.
It is. I
learned how to like hide the links with an image and make the image a hyperlink and just make it look cleaner and better. And like I was so into all of that stuff.
People got pretty good at HTML.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
href equals. That's how you start your link. Yeah,
yeah.
I know because I made a lot of money on MySpace.
I used to make profiles for my friends to like My friend Roki wanted a Penn State themed.
Roki? You had a friend named Roki?
Jacob Roki.
Oh. See, you give these nicknames to people, and I think he's just I think he's an anime character or something like that. Why do you think
last names are nicknames? You've said that. I remember an episode of Film Beef or something where you were like, or it was that video that we did.
Just call him by the first name.
No.
Why?
Because.
You got Roki and Yuchi and...
Why
isn't Eric Mulder?
I don't know.
Scully.
Eric, I don't know. Mulder is just not a cool name to call someone.
It's too simple for a...
Why is that? Because I'm trying to think of every...
Josh, another one.
Josh.
Suds, I guess. People call him Suds.
Josh is one of those people.
Actually, there's only one person I know that calls him Suds, and it's Brando. I'm like, do you even know him that well?
Did you know I came up with that name?
Well, I guess it makes sense, yeah.
He was trying to come up with a name for a studio, and I came up with Suds. It makes sense because you call everyone by their last name. And Sudeth just won't do. I'm trying to think of all my friends that have first names. All of them.
Patrick.
I met. They go. Patrick is one. But yeah. The ratio of friends that I have that go by their first name and last name, the last name is just far greater. Or maybe it says enough if it's the equivalent.
I've been trying to make Jaye pop for a while.
What is that?
Jaye.
Jaye.
Yeah. To my name looks.
I know.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
When people see Jay...
This isn't true, by the way. Have I ever told you a story about at UK? I had a class at UK one time that it was filled with a bunch of odd names, and the teacher was like going through like having a really hard time when he was calling roll. And by the time he got to my name, he called me some weird name. I think it was like Hayi or something like that. And I was like, it's just Jay. It's just, and he was like, I was like, yeah, you tried too hard. Because I'm at the end. I'm at the very end of the alphabet with Williams. You all right there? You almost fell out of your chair laughing. But when he got there, I was like, he was like,
it's just Jay.
Actually, I don't even think he got it out.
Motherfucker.
He looked at it, and he was like, I said, it's just Jay. I like stopped him before he could even try.
I feel. Oh God, that's fucking funny. I feel like when you see that next to Williams,
it's just the E.
But even so, like of course, no one spells J with E. Of course, I get it. You're special in that way.
Well, typically it's James, like it's it's listed as James because
right. But I guess what I'm saying is, if you still see Jaye next to Williams, how do you not come up with anything but J? Like it's just so obvious.
It was just a circumstance that he had so many names in there that were strange.
God. That's one of my favorite stories you've ever told. Who really? Are we talking about? I made the joke the other day. We were talking about somebody that also had a useless letter in their name.
I don't know.
Okay, very good.
My grandmother? Crunchy? Yeah. I have no idea. She has an E at the end of her name.
I love how she was trying to prescribe me all those supplements the last time I talked to her.
When you were there's sometimes, have you ever known somebody so well and they get into a conversation that you just know they shouldn't be having? It
didn't bother me at all.
I know it didn't, but the whole time I was just sitting there like, this is...
You wanted to leave. Because we were about ready to go.
The problem...
So what happened was...
Here's the problem with old people. They don't spend enough time on the internet.
So what happened was...
Which immediately makes them less educated.
I was at dinner with Jay's family. And we were just talking about my anxiety and depression. And his grandmother, Crunchy, locked me into a corner and just kept going on and on about all these supplements I should try and versus the ones I was already taking and things like that. And your mom jumping in was hilarious. She has more knowledge about that type of stuff. I'm great with moms.
I know. Yeah.
I've always been great with moms.
All family members.
I guess that includes grandmothers.
You ever dated a grandmother?
No. But
that's good. Neither have I. I've dated some moms. Dated a few. Right for the picking on dating websites.
I've dated a wife.
Stop. Don't go here. We had that random conversation in on After Schmo about former love interests.
Yeah, we
have
did.
I ever told
She was a cheerleader.
You know what's funny? I have this. We talked about this persona that I have of being like the likable guy and this and that. And in high school, I had this thing about me where I was like to myself, I was just like, you know what? I'm a great guy.
Jay,
but looking back on it, I was kind of a prick.
Well, yeah.
In high school,
Hold on. How many times have we gone over me being a prick in high school? I've talked about that quite a bit to you on air and off air. You have never once made me feel better by saying I was also a prick in high school.
I'll tell the worst story.
You just let me do it.
I'll tell you the worst story. The time when I was like the biggest prick in high school. So
cocky prick.
My senior year, I mentioned this on After Schmo the other day, but my senior year of high school, I didn't want to play football. Like, I had no desire to do it. I was fucking over it. I hated it. And so when I eventually decided that I was going to, spring practice came around. And I didn't want to do spring practice.
Right.
So the only way to get out of spring practice was if you played another sport. So I signed up for... Actually, I did what my best friend John Ransdell did. He did track, so he got out of spring practice every year. So I signed up for track for two reasons. One, to get out of it, and two, because there was an attractive lady that I was trying to pursue. This worked. This worked pursuing... Actually, it didn't work because I also was interested in another girl. And
who are you, Snelling?
I wanted to ask this other girl to prom that year. This was junior year, actually. I'm sorry. Yeah, let me take that back. This wasn't junior year. So junior year, I wanted to ask this girl that I had a crush on to prom. And I ended up not doing it because I just decided that, like, I don't go into stuff like that unless I know for sure what the end result is going to be. And it just seemed like that the end result wasn't going to be a yes. So to minimize the risk, I just didn't ask her. So I pursued this other girl on the track team, and I asked her to prom.
Right.
And she said yes. I was excited. And she went out and, was like dress shopping and this and that. And in the middle of that, somebody told me that they had had a conversation with this other girl and brought up that I wanted to ask her. And she was like, well, I totally would have said yes. So when I found out about that, I was like,
oh, God.
Interesting. So I ended up telling this other girl that I didn't want to go with her anymore. And I ended up going with this other girl instead. You want to know what the result was of going to prom that year?
What's
I
that?
had a fucking awful time. That girl didn't dance with me once.
I think we have nearly identical prom experiences.
She didn't dance with me once, and I ended up like going home and hooking up with somebody else who might have gone to prom with another one of
with
my
another
friends.
person.
Anyways,
all right, okay, I have to talk to you about my prom experience. Okay, so the plan was for me. There was this girl.
Yeah.
I was super into her all of high school, but I was just so friend zoned. So friend zoned. But I had this idea, like, I really want to go to prom with this person.
Right.
But she has this entire group of friends that I don't belong to and I don't like. So part of me was like, would I enjoy it if she's going to...
You had a pretty big friends group, too, so this must have been like...
These were
from a different school?
No.
Okay.
It was just a group that I didn't particularly ever want to hang out with, and so... But anyway, she belonged to that group. Even though we spent a lot of time together, she took me to school for like a year, and we were really, really close friends.
Is this an older person?
No, same class.
Okay.
I just didn't have a car for a long time.
What year in school is this?
Well, we're talking about prom, so senior.
Did you not go to prom as a junior?
No.
So at my school, you could only go to prom if you're a junior or senior. You can go to prom as an underclassman.
I could have been someone's date if a senior had asked me, but a senior didn't ask me.
So at prom, you can start going when you're a junior at my school. Anyways,
okay.
Go ahead.
So I thought of this really great idea. We had seen the movie Across the Universe. Have you seen Across the Universe?
Yes, I own it.
Oh, that's right. You do it. So
should do something for that. I don't know why.
We should. But anyway, we had watched the movie Across the Universe like a year or two prior. Like it was just something that we had done. So I thought, I'm going to recreate. This is how I was going to ask her to prom. I'm going to recreate the Strawberry Fields scene. So he's sitting there drawing, sketching it out, and then it turns into this musical number with strawberries bleeding.
Yeah.
Quit making faces. Just let me fucking tell the story.
I know.
I don't need a live reaction.
Why? That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm here
but
for.
You're not. You're doing it inaudibly. Say.
You know what? You know why? Let me just say why this is such a Snelling thing.
Why?
Because it's this elaborate idea.
And it involves a movie.
No, that it's just this overtly elaborate idea that, for me, if I had the idea, I would just be like, already too much work. Let's not do this. I'm sorry.
Okay,
continue.
so what I did a lot of things to prepare for this. She was at softball practice. I was able to go to her house. Her mom let me in. I'm great with moms.
You mentioned that you like softball players.
That's true.
On Aftersmoke.
That's right. So her mom let me in, and I decorated their kitchen as the scene in Across the Universe. You can look it up on YouTube. It's probably there. But
I'm grateful that you asked. If you would have like broken in, that would have been a great story. Yeah.
So like the character's sitting there. He starts out the scene. He's drawing an apple. So I had to cut up apple, and I had drawn it out. I'm a really good drawer, by the way. And so I had all that set up, and then he moves on to strawberries, and there's a musical number where Strawberry Fields by the Beatles is playing. Obviously, their cover. It's very red. There are strawberries that bleed blood and stuff. So what I did, I painted the movie's logo, which is just like crazy brushstroke strawberries. Put that on a poster, hung it up. And then I had a poster that spelled prom with bleeding strawberries pinned. So I would pin a strawberry and had like red paint drip down from it. That's like exact imagery from the movie. So also had this like red light. I changed the lights so that they were all red in the kitchen. And so as she walked in the house, that song was playing. She sees the painting and prom dripping and all that kind of stuff. And I had strawberries all over the place, blah, 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 blah. She loved it.
Of course.
She loved it. Cried. She cried.
You had a relationship with this person prior to this, right?
Very brief.
Oh my God. Okay.
Very brief. But we were super close friends.
So can I ask a question? Just sort of.
This is like 1/3 of my prom experience.
Let me give like the sight and sound breakdown to this.
Okay.
So from my perspective, you are going to such lengths not only to impress, but make it so much so that she almost has to say yes.
Probably.
Yeah. Like saying no after going through all that trouble would have meant that this person is kind of a jerk.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why like I had conversations with a couple of her friends too to sort of prepare like what's her reaction going to be, kind of feel the room a little bit. So I definitely did a little bit of that. And obviously looking back on it, I wonder if she ever actually wanted to say yes, which is fine. But we'll get there. So she said yes, loved it, and so as time goes on and we're planning prom and this and that, I'm talking to this other girl who is actually, ironically, her childhood best friend, but they haven't seen each other in like 10 years. She's from Lexington. So we're actually talking and we actually like each other as opposed to this girl I asked to prom over here. And so then I decide that maybe I want to go to prom with this girl that I'm actually a thing with. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to replace the person I asked with the girl that I want to go with. The person, again, this is in Lexington, so 30 minutes away at another high school. The person that I want to go with mentions it to another friend of hers. That friend knows somebody at my high school, so the secret got out.
Right.
Before I had ever even done anything. So the person I had asked found out, was crying, embarrassed because this came about inside a classroom and everybody was talking about it. 20, 30 people were like, this was going to happen? So
they were embarrassed by it?
She was embarrassed by it because everybody was talking about it in class. But
when it happened, she liked it. This was before the fact that you're
You
talking about.
did not listen to me.
I just listened to you.
No, you did not.
Yes,
You were in your phone.
But I'm confused by what it is specifically that you're talking about. So
the person that I was talking to,
right,
that lived in Lexington,
right. There was this rumor had got out.
The rumor had got out,
right.
and the person that I had asked found out that I was planning to go.
Gotcha.
So she was embarrassed that everybody was talking about it, and so she was crying. Then the girl that I was talking to just drops off the face of the earth.
Of course.
So now I'm left.
Probably terrified.
Now I'm left without a prom date.
Right.
And which it kind of ended up working out because the strawberry date, she wanted to go with that friends group that I didn't want to go with, and I wanted her to be a part of my friends group, and we were trying to figure out limousine. So that wasn't even going to work out anyway, or else I would have just had a miserable time.
So who did you go to prom with? Girl
number 3. And it was around Easter. It was about this time, so you only had like a month to prepare before prom.
Yeah.
I wrote out the word prom and cut it up letter by letter and put it in a bunch of Easter eggs.
Like a serial killer.
Yeah, like a serial killer. I put each letter in an Easter egg. Phil had a basket of Easter eggs and just... She opened it. Okay, prom, 5 characters. PROM ?
Yeah.
In a basket of like 100 eggs.
She couldn't find the letters.
She pulled them out in chronological order. What are the odds of that? P
5 in 100.
R O
Well, I guess
M.
not. Yeah.
That was amazing. I watched her do it. It was great. I didn't even mark them. So anyway, I went with this chick. She was a part of my group, and I don't think I saw her once we walked into the dance.
Interesting.
I had a big time with Cody Ray Hecker, though. Shout out to Cody. We danced the night away.
Of course you did. He's a big dancer.
Yeah. So that's my prom story.
My senior prom was also a shit show. The person that I asked was just a friend, just a straight up friend. You know, no like romantic thing. Just went as
right,
because the first one was such a shit show. It became a shit show because this person was taking like a governor scholar test at our shitty old middle school that was essentially condemned. I don't know why they were taking the test there. Anyways, they had a bunch of stuff laying around, like because the school was becoming condemned, and a bunch of these governor scholar kids took some exit signs. And they all got like suspended for it, which is hilarious. And she got in trouble and wasn't going to be able to go to prom. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Eventually, it came around to where she could go to prom, but she couldn't do anything else besides prom. So I ended up going to dinner with like a whole group of people. Like,
without a date?
Yeah, I was just like, all right, this is fine.
And then she was just your date for the dance.
Yeah, and it was cool and it was fun, except... at the end of the night, guess who got a ride home in our limo? My date from the night before, or not the night before, the year before.
Right.
And the person that I went with tried to set me up with her in the limo ride. We ended up dating after that.
Really?
And it was awful. I didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
I didn't even really like her. My mindset was like, I guess I'll give it a shot this year. She's the girl that I dated after I'd graduated, and when she wanted me to come to some girls' soccer game, high school girls' soccer game with her, as I was just going into college, and I went there, and 2 things happened. One, I thought that it was so fucking weird that I was at this high school event after having graduated.
Yeah.
And 2, I was deep into wanting to be in a band, and I had just dyed my hair. I had like my hair, like a strip of my hair blonde, and it was just different. And I think that she was embarrassed about it, so I was just like, I don't want to date you anymore. So we didn't date.
She was embarrassed by your blonde streak?
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, that wasn't good. High school's weird.
I was at work yesterday, and one of a kid that I actually grew up with, K through 8, he walked in. So it's obviously been years since I guess I've seen him maybe a couple of times.
Yeah.
Since 8th grade. We still live in Frankfurt.
Is this Reed?
It is not Reed. So he walked in, and I kind of almost didn't recognize him. And I'm like really good with faces and names, whereas you're not.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, okay, what's up, man?" And he said, "Hey," and we asked how we were doing, and he is just a total, complete, like redneck kind of person, and it's hilarious.
That'll happen.
It's hilarious to me because he was not that at all. There was nothing country about him in K through 8, and I know we're still kids, but I also knew his family, and I don't know. It's Frankfurt's a small town to where you feel like you get everybody, especially if you've grown up with them. So it was hilarious to see all these years later when he was like this kind of like free spirit hippie kind of kid, and now he's like this redneck. And he said we should catch up sometime, and I looked at him and I was like, no. I was like,
did you say that to him?
I just said cool, and then he left. So I knew that there was going to be no follow through because he just threw it out there, but he didn't ask for my number or anything like that. So I knew I didn't have to say no, essentially, because it was just, I already knew it wasn't going to happen based on that.
Let me ask you this question. I was
like, nothing good will come from that. We are two completely different people who have no business hanging out with each other.
So do you spend any amount of time like trying to avoid interactions like that? Or is that something that goes through your mind? Like anytime you leave your house, like, are you weary of like, I don't want to run into anybody?
I don't think I have a relationship with anybody now. You know, some of the relationships with people that I didn't like in high school, I've kind of noticed that there's like this mutual understanding that like we're older now.
Yeah, I get that.
So we don't judge each other in the same way, but that still doesn't mean I necessarily want to talk to them.
Right.
So,
but even the people that you did like for the most part, maybe just as acquaintances. So for me, I guess for context, the town that you live in is, I would consider a small town, but the town that I live in is even smaller than that.
Yeah.
Like way smaller.
Well, you had one high school and we have 3.
Yeah. And so anytime I go out of my house, it's just like this constant fear of running into people. It's not even necessarily, because I get what you're saying. The people that I've run into people all the time that I just didn't care for. And yeah, you just operate as just your strangers essentially. But then even the people that I did know, I hate having those interactions. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like what have you been up to? Like, I don't care. I just don't care about what you've been doing.
I agree. I'm with you. I try, if I know that I'm gonna have to talk to him, I try to avoid by just making a joke.
Yeah.
Like making some kind of like icebreaker joke to where we don't have to do the whole what are you doing now and all that kind of stuff. Right. And like the things that people should ask other people, just witnessing and spectating on adult conversations all my life.
Yeah.
My mom, the first time she meets up with somebody, how's the family? How's the kid? How's the grandkid? I am awful at remembering to ask those questions.
Okay.
Like there are people my age that are married, have kids, and 5% of the time I might remember to be like, how's the family?
Yeah.
And I always have to say how's the family because I never remember how many kids they actually have or if it's a son or a daughter.
Well, the things that I'm typically fascinated in by people, it's none of those things to begin with, because I think the things that make people unique are, I want to know what people are daydreaming about. Like, what are the things that you're supposed to be doing throughout the day? What are you thinking about doing other than that? Like, obviously, you and I think a lot about podcasting. We think a lot about making music and this and that. And I want to know about what people's hobbies are, because I think that's what, but you know how hard or how far down you have to drill or dig to get to that? There are times, like, for instance, when in my day job, when new people work there, when they start, there are like months that go. There are people that I've worked with for years that I have no idea what their hobbies are.
Right.
Because we just don't get there to that conversation.
Because they don't have any.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, there are times when I'll just go straight to it. Like, what are you interested in? What are your hobbies? Like, which is a really strange question to ask somebody. But there are times when I'll ask those questions and they don't have anything. And I'm baffled by it. Like, what are you even living for? Because somebody who's not married or doesn't, I've been married, but I don't have kids or anything like that. Like all day, I am excited about getting to do other shit. But there's people out there that just don't have that. And that's like, that is so odd to me.
That's why comparing my life, like there was a time when I was self-conscious about comparing my life. Like this person who graduated with me has graduated college and getting a job and becoming a real person. And then comparatively, when I think about where I'm at, ultimately I don't feel bad about it anymore because I'm bored by what they're doing. And I'm not saying that what they're doing isn't great for them, but because I'm bored by it, I know that I could never have done it.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't really bother me.
Well, there are some people out there that have interests that don't line up with mine, but I'm still equally as interested in it. Like, for instance, sports. Like, there's some people, especially UK basketball, and this, especially right now, you know, I can't have like a full-on conversation with people about sports because I don't keep up with it as much, but I get it that that's something that people are super interested in, and I value that. But there are also people that don't even care about that. I'm just like, God damn, what are you, you know, and it's fine to be able to have limited conversations. Like there's some people that I talk to that know that I'm into pop culture stuff and this and that. And
right.
Sometimes they get fearful of having conversations. Like somebody at work the other day wanted to talk to me about Black Panther. What's funny about Black Panther is, as big as that movie was, I actually walked away from it like not having a lot to talk about. Like it's kind of just a movie I saw in the MCU and this and that. Like I just thought it was fine, and so it is kind of funny people coming up to me being really excited to talk about it, and I'm just like, I don't know what to talk to you about with it. Like, you know what I did ask somebody?
I just don't agree.
You know what I did?
Fine. You
know what I did ask somebody is I said, "Yeah, you saw it, you liked it. Are you excited about Infinity War?" And they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh fuck!"
It only broke the pre-sale box office record in 6 hours.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean shit, does it?
I know,
right?
It doesn't.
Isn't that crazy?
It doesn't.
Like that's honestly more fascinating for me to think about is the fact that so many people saw that movie, and if they think about this. All the people that went out and saw this movie and it's their first MCU movie and they're now getting interested in it, think about all the shit that they have to. I don't think that you have to go back and watch every single MCU movie, but there's a lot that you probably need to pay attention to. Like even the thing right before it that I think you have to watch it is Civil War. I do not think you can go into Infinity War without having seen Civil War.
I would say if you had to watch 3 movies in anticipation, and only
this is
3,
great. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You should do a movie episode about this.
The only 3 movies you need to watch before Avengers: Infinity War would be the first Avenger. I'm sorry, not the first Avenger.
I was about to say I've never seen it.
Avengers.
Yeah,
Avengers. The first Avengers film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And Civil War.
Okay.
And that's it. And if
Ultron is... I don't think people ever need to see Age of Ultron. I think it's a fine movie, but...
The only reason why anyone would need to watch Ultron is for Vision. But you have Vision and his Infinity Stone in Civil War.
If you want more context on Sokovia in Civil War, then watch Age of Ultron. Right? Because a lot of what happened in Civil War was a result of what happened in the second
especially in those
film.
Early scenes, like when the woman confronts Tony in the elevator about killing her son and things like that.
Yeah, even Spider-Man? Nah.
No, you don't have to watch Spider-Man Homecoming. No, I agree with that. So let's talk about that.
Hang on. Before we do that, can we take a quick break?
You want to take a break?
I know it's a perfect segue into that, but I really have to piss.
We'll take a break. We'll get back and we'll talk about Infinity War, the latest trailer that dropped.
Have you ever listened along with Sight and Sound and thought to yourself, man, I would love to have these types of conversations with other like-minded individuals? Well, there's a place for that. Head over to Facebook and be sure to join the Sight and Sound Facebook group. It was started by our listeners to share their thoughts and opinions, react and comment on episodes and topics brought up on episodes. You can even interact with Ryan and myself. It is a fantastic community that we are proud of, and we think you should join it.
We've even made it easy for you. Check out the link in the description box of this podcast and get involved with the Sight and Sound Facebook group today.
So let's talk about...
Are you on the right drive?
Yeah. Let's
Look,
talk
Fortnite.
Oh, okay. Is it really? It is. A rare achievement. See, my sister did that. She got me 30 gamer score. Complete Canny Valley Storm Shield Defense 6.
What does your gamer score do?
It's just part of what, like, my thing is What Up Snell, and I probably have like 40,000 gamer score based on all the achievements.
Just on
gaming achievements.
Just on the Jesus Christ, just on the thing of video games real quick. For those that don't know, I don't play a lot of video games, but I went deep on FIFA for a really long time.
Sounds boring.
The amount of time that I've played FIFA and my achievements in FIFA are ridiculous.
Really?
They're amazing.
God, you guys get into FIFA.
Who else is into FIFA?
Lee was really big into FIFA back in the day.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Eric and like Tater, Patrick, all of those guys are obsessed with FIFA.
Now I'm going to need to practice so I can
Patrick's entire friends group is really into FIFA, and I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I just don't get why people like that game. I was huge. I was a big NBA 2K fan, but the game just got genuinely bad.
Ultimate Team was sort of what people really are obsessed with.
Yeah. Which
is like an arcade style of trading card version of it. That's not even fucking fun to play online at
I've
a
seen
certain
Goodman
point.
play that.
Yeah.
I was a really big fan of... you want to play FIFA? You want to play foot? I've watched them play all that stuff. I was really big into NBA 2K, but the games just got bad because there's no competition with that game. Because NBA Live just it might as well not exist.
That's how FIFA is.
It didn't exist for a while.
That's how FIFA is. It's other than PES.
But it's a good game.
Yeah, a lot of hardcore people are critical of it because it barely changed over the years. Like they really haven't done much to it.
that's a sports game problem.
Yeah.
But I was really, I think my favorite, the most passionate I've been about a sports game was the NCAA football.
Yeah, like, those games are great.
I could start my running back or my quarterback in high school. Mm-hmm. It was like, I think it was 2007 where they introduced the high school element. So you could play your senior year, and then I would always go to USC because, George Lucas and Spielberg. And
I always went to Notre Dame.
That's weird.
Why?
Because I don't know why Jay would pick Notre Dame.
Well,
what is it? What is it about Notre Dame?
First of all, it's one of the most storied college football teams.
I'm asking why to you, because you're not a fan of college football, and
I used to be.
Oh, were you a Notre Dame guy?
A little bit.
I was gonna say, I'm just asking what the evidence. I don't know how it connects to you.
I fucking hate UK. Like, despise it. After having gone there, it was just a nightmare, and they're terrible at football. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Oregon would have been fun.
I loved going to Oregon too. I did Oregon as well.
A ton of fun to pick those jerseys.
Just their offense is fun to play too.
Yeah. Every now and then I'd be Buffalo because actually, you know what? Idaho was the best. Was the best team to be because they played and their stadium was like it looked like a barn. It was like a legitimate. Yeah, look it up. It looks crazy.
Are you thinking of Boise State? Boise State's the red and orange.
Idaho.
The blue and orange.
This is Idaho.
Okay.
So if you go to Idaho, they're the Vandals.
Okay.
And I believe they're the Vandals. And they play in what looks like a barn. It looks ridiculous. I used to love playing. Like, I would always change their I would make them play in like the SEC or the Big Ten or something like that and make like Ohio State play in this shitty barn. It was great.
What a weird joke for yourself. Like,
yeah, it was great.
It's hilarious. I'm going to pit Ohio State against Idaho.
It was fun. I think I would create a team, like create a university and make them play in that stadium.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Also big into Madden. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But anyway,
have
never
you ever
got
been
into FIFA.
You ever been into any of those like local wrestling events?
No.
You never went to a local wrestling event? Okay, never mind.
Goodman invited me to one once, but I didn't go.
Of course he would. I'm sorry. Infinity War.
Yeah, so let's talk about the trailer. I guess was the first one a teaser? It felt like a teaser because there's not a whole lot of plot points. It was about as long as anyway.
It was pretty good.
I think.
This is the second trailer.
I know, but this feels like the trailer, whereas the first one still felt like a teaser.
Yeah, I get that.
So, but anyway, so the trailer number 2, to me, a first full trailer. Because we have plot points and we're a little bit more involved into what's going down.
There's still that trailer floating around from Comic-Con they never showed too.
That and we also had that Super Bowl footage that came and went. But
not much there for that.
Right. But the box office, it's already up for sale. The pre-sales for the tickets broke a record within 6 hours. Yeah. So it's not like, even though it feels like we're just now kind of getting amped up with the first full trailer, by all means, everyone is still freaking excited for this. But I just wanted to talk about our initial takeaways from the trailer, because I actually got a lot out of this, more so than, I mean, people are already going on and on about how Ant-Man isn't in the trailer and Hawkeye isn't in the trailer, but that was sort of an afterthought because there was so much. I got so much out of the trailer itself.
Right?
Did you?
I told you this off air, just sort of what prompted this downhill thing of wanting to do weekly this week as opposed to doing an after party. I love the trailer. Thought it was really good. I like watching it, but at this point we're so close to it. I don't really have much to say. Like, I don't even really need to speculate anymore because we're so close to actually watching the movie. This feels like an event. It's so strange. It's such a, like, this feels, obviously, and it should, so much bigger than a typical Avengers movie that I'm having trouble comprehending how they're going to pull it off.
I know.
I literally don't understand. And that's exciting because, you know, all the criticisms that come with a superhero film are, oh, we've seen this already, they're playing it safe. There's no way you can really play this safe. Like, the chips are stacked against this movie for it to be good.
When it comes to story and how simple it actually seems, one thing you have to do to separate yourself from the other two Avengers movies is to lose somebody or to lose something in the process. So
you need stakes.
So I do think, even though it's pretty simple, Thanos is coming to Earth to grab the last Infinity Stone. They're gonna fight him, lead him to Wakanda probably, and take him down. So it's pretty simple. That's not a criticism. I'm just talking about what I see here. But I think this movie is going to be. It's easy to forget, at least for me, how spread out this movie actually is, because it spans just galaxies. So based on the timeline, and I haven't put it together. I did this for The Force Awakens. Before that movie came out, I looked at all the trailers and put them together in what I thought would be the chronological order. You can look up that video. It's on the Film Beef YouTube channel. I actually came really fucking close with my predictions. But what I get from this trailer, I think it's going to open. I think it's going to open with Thanos meeting up with the end of Thor Ragnarok, with all of them on that ship. I think it's possible that when Thanos meets up with Loki, we see Loki show him the cube from the first movie. I forgot what it's called. Tesseract. Yes, thank you. I think it's possible he kills Thor right there,
because we don't really see him much in the rest of the trailer.
Well, we see him in the other trailer meet the Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, I guess he makes it out alive there. So because it's Thor and Hulk has to get back to Earth. I don't know.
Well, first of all, real quick, let me throw this out there. Did you hear the news report? I heard this on Collider about the different time gaps between all the movies. Like, apparently this takes place 5 years after Guardians 2, which I was like, what? That's crazy to think about. And they said 3 years after Civil War.
Right.
Which is also interesting.
Scarlett Johansson said that in her Entertainment Tonight
and
interview.
It's just interesting to sort of, I mean, how long did Homecoming take place after? It had to have taken place.
But Homecoming messed with the timeline too.
It's true.
Everyone is still confused about when that happened, because it picks up shortly after the events of the first Avengers, and then said like 7 years later, which
and then Black Panther took place
strange.
right after.
Yeah, it took
Black
place
Panther's,
that week.
Yeah,
it was the week after.
Yeah, Black Panther's also kind of strange because I thought, didn't they go back to Wakanda to bring back Winter Soldier? But then we had the whole introduction of Black Panther coming back to Wakanda.
Wait, say that again.
So at the end of Civil War,
right?
They bring
Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky and Captain America and T'Challa are all in Wakanda, right?
I think so.
At the very end,
right?
And then we also, at the beginning of Black Panther, he's coming back to Wakanda for the first time, coming home from the Civil War events. So it's just like, when is all this taking place?
He's not coming home from the Civil War events. He came home from the jungle mission. He just he just left to intercept what's her name in the...
Yeah, but the way that I interpreted it was they were coming back and they were having this big ceremony because his father had died.
I think that's just because they hadn't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't his first time back.
Fair enough. Okay.
He was just gone for a second and came back.
Gotcha.
But what's funny about Black Panther's relationship to the other movies is it doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense that T'Chaka wanted to sign the Sokovia Accords. Does it?
Yeah, but I think at the time nobody really knew that he was a superhero. You know what I'm saying? Or knew about... Nobody knew about...
Wakanda does, but the world doesn't.
Right. But they were probably never going to play ball with that anyways.
The Black Panther.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's all... It is pretty... it is pretty interesting, all this stuff that's going on. I think the thing that I'm sort of coming to terms with now is that I feel we don't know anything about this other Avengers movie that they've already filmed.
The fourth one.
Yeah, we don't really know anything about it. It seems to me like this movie has to go off Earth. It has to go away from Earth, and it seems like the final one will take place off of Earth in order for the MCU to continue with their normal movies. Yeah, like it's going to be hard for them just to deal with this movie and see Ant-Man and Wasp and see, well, I guess they're going back in time for Captain Marvel, but I don't know, all that interesting stuff. Over or under 40%, we do get a Captain Marvel cameo in this movie.
Over 40%.
You're going to go over 40?
Yeah.
You're pretty confident in it.
So I'm looking at them. There's the screen. We got Star-Lord and Iron Man and Spider-Man are all on this planet. I remember seeing that behind the scenes where it's just a green screen because they did like a 10-year anniversary video last year for this. So we get a lot of that, but there's also so much that takes place in New York, like with Iron Man and Doctor Strange, about the first time. I think what happens in the movie is Thanos comes to Earth and then he leaves.
We've only really seen 3 set pieces, right?
Essentially.
Wakanda, New York, and then wherever they're doing with the big wheel, right?
The wheel, that's what I'm saying. In all of the footage, the wheel just appears, but then it leaves.
Right.
Because that's Spider-Man in space, and then it crash lands on this planet, and then they're talking about what their plan is. So somehow all of these guys follow a wheel to another planet, and they get separated, and then everybody else in Wakanda is anticipating Thanos' return because we see the very last shot, or not the very last shot, but one of the last shots is Thanos punching Cap, and Cap's holding his fist
Which looks
up.
like it's still in Wakanda.
Right, exactly. So this movie's going to be very spread out. And then we also get a lot of the flashbacks because that's in the trailer. Thanos. The thing about Thanos, he looks great.
I agree.
And I'm excited to see a lot of him. Otherwise, again, that's another way that you separate this from the other Avengers movies is making Thanos the main character, essentially, which is how they kind of worded it in the past, that he would be the main character. So
kind of like not a heist. Is it kind of what they called it? Like a heist in this movie that he's kind of breaking in and getting things and leaving, and they have to go on a chase to go after him.
Thanos looks really good. He's like on a Warcraft level. I remember seeing the orcs in Warcraft for the first time and thinking, my God, I cannot believe that is fake.
Right.
Because it looked so damn good. Which is funny because back then I defended Warcraft's CG against people because people said that movie looked garbage.
And you don't even give a shit about Warcraft.
I don't. But I was like, these orcs look amazing. And it was one of the best looking movies in theaters that I had ever seen because of that. And so I think Thanos is on that level. And so it's funny that I thought of Warcraft in that way. But the Hawkeye stuff doesn't matter to me. If Thor dies, that doesn't. They talked about that on the Collider. What if Thor dies? Because we just had Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
Thor Ragnarok, to me, that's not a promise of more Thor.
Yeah.
It's
just a good movie.
but it's not even that. Because even after Thor Ragnarok, even though I give it all the credit in the world for righting the wrongs of Thor and like finally figuring something out with how you handle the Thor franchise, but I still look at that movie and I don't think there's more to come with that. Well, it still feels like, what else can you do?
It was as much of an ensemble movie, in my opinion, as Civil War was. I mean, you had the likes of Hulk, obviously, Valkyrie playing a huge
Grandmaster.
part. Yeah. Obviously
Loki.
Yeah. I mean, so listen, one thing that I always think is fascinating about these ensemble movies like this is you really never know who's going to break out, right? Like who do you think? I have so much attachment to Bucky and the Winter Soldier that I probably should ever have. Like, I love his character. I think he's fantastic. People obviously, and they had plans for Black Panther and for Spider-Man, of course, but what if we just walk away from this movie just like being in love with Vision or something? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's really calling for a Vision movie, but you never know what, and I do hope they use this movie. There's no guarantee this is going to happen, but I do hope they use this movie to introduce us to Captain Marvel in a weird way, to get us invested. Like it got us. I've said it a bunch of times. The best trailers for Black Panther and for Spider-Man was Civil War.
Right.
And I mean, in my opinion, I think Civil War handled both of those characters better than their individual movies did, without a doubt. And I hope to see Captain Marvel in this movie.
I hope so too. I still think she'll be like post credits though.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
See, I just think it would be so interesting for her just to fly in and be like, "Who the fuck is this?"
But having her drop in like that though at the very end, it feels like there's already so much going on.
How hyped would you be for that movie though if that happened? And she just started kicking ass.
Yeah,
we also have no idea what she's.
You're probably right, but it feels like there's already so much that you have to do.
I may stand up in the theater and be like, "Yeah," and people be like, "Sit down." I'd be like, "Shut the fuck up! I don't care."
Who's that?
Yeah.
Is that Jean Grey?
But what a great way, though. What a great way for people just to be like, yes.
I'm not gonna act like I wouldn't be hyped.
What a great introduction to Marvel's like first real standalone female like character like that too.
Right.
Just have her just take over this shit.
Another takeaway I had from this trailer.
Gal Gadot, who? You look like Thanos right now. Yeah.
You want to know?
We do a Thanos impression. But I need you to look like him too. Like,
I can't. I'm bald.
So is he, isn't he?
In time, you'll know what it's like to lose.
You sound like you're narrating a movie trailer.
He narrates that trailer.
That's fair.
When he says that. Another takeaway I had: Doctor Strange.
It's nothing.
Is the most forgettable nothing thing about the MCU.
You know what's funny though?
Every time he shows up in the trailer, I am reminded of the existence of Doctor Strange.
But you know what's funny about him is I sort of, I didn't choose this, but I rewatched Doctor Strange over Christmas time in Orlando with Kayla's family. There are really good parts about that movie though. There are parts when I was watching it and thinking to myself, these are some really cool scenes.
I don't have a problem with the movie necessarily. It's just so forgettable.
Yeah.
It's
Mads Mikkelsen's villain was
Doctor Strange.
fucking awful.
Doctor Strange, in my opinion, just can't be as exciting as some of these other characters.
Yeah.
He just isn't. He's cool. He's a nice, interesting corner of the MCU, but it's almost underground in a way.
If anybody ever wants to know, like from an outsider's perspective, this whole issue that Marvel has with villains, I would point specifically to that movie. That Mads Mikkelsen's villain in that film is awful. He has virtually no dialogue. He just comes in at random times to pose a problem. It's nothing.
And I hated the ending with Dormammu
so
as well. The other villain in that movie.
The purple meatballs.
I did not like that.
Yeah.
I liked the rewind in Chinatown or China, wherever it took place, but that's racist. But I didn't like the Dormammu part either.
It was awful.
I didn't like the villain in any way. Yeah. The villains in any way. But yeah, that.
What's his name? What's that guy's name? That's his sidekick in that. Who I just saw was in.
I can't remember.
I just saw was in. Well, I'm forgetting the name of that movie.
Mordo.
Yeah, but what's the actor's name?
Oh, God, Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, he's in Inside Man. I was watching
is he?
Inside Man the other day. Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Talking about ensemble cast. My God.
Any other takeaways from the trailer?
From Inside Man?
No. We got Wakanda. We got this weird planet. Is that planet? Is that Xandar from the first Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, I don't know. How would I know that?
I'm just curious because someone in our Facebook group reminded us that is there an Infinity Stone on Xandar? So
I don't know.
But Xandar got wrecked at the end.
So where are all the Infinity Stones? So
I don't know. He has.
So Vision has one.
Vision has one. Loki gives him the Tesseract.
We see that
in the trailer.
Somebody wondered if maybe that's not some sort of weird trick that he's playing, though.
Maybe.
But so there's one there.
But the Tesseract is actually, even though the Tesseract is a blue cube, I think it's the yellow stone. And
the yellow stone is in Vision's head.
Because that's actually not the yellow stone.
Oh.
It's actually another color. Like the totems that represent the Infinity Stones, for whatever reason, are different colors. From what I can remember, the only one that is the same color is the purple one in the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Actually, okay.
But even when the purple, that orb that they have in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, even though that stone is purple, when Ronan puts it into his battle axe or whatever, it's blue.
Yeah.
So I don't know why.
So what's his name? Doctor Strange has the Time Stone.
Yeah. Because it's in the thing.
Yeah. That one's green, right?
Right.
So, and the Soul Stone is the one that we've just never seen. Is that right?
And it might be in Wakanda.
Everybody's saying that, but they're just gonna make that up.
It could just be vibranium.
Okay.
Like vibranium could be the representation of the. I'm speculating. I don't know.
Right.
And I'm sure somebody's gonna correct us, but that's fine.
Kevin Marks.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. It's next month. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy.
Then after that, we've got Deadpool and Solo.
Yeah. Deadpool Solo. I saw Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't deserve it's like a 50 or a 40 on Rotten Tomatoes. The only issues that I have with it, I actually wish there was more action, like that set piece that we see in the trailer of her like falling down the waterfall and jumping on the plane. That's all kind of one scene.
Really?
So I wish there were like there's like a shootout scene in the middle of it that I guess you could call an action movie. But
right.
A Lara Croft, I want to see more Lara Croft action scenes sprinkled out throughout the film, and there wasn't a whole lot of that. It wasn't beautifully sequenced in the way that I wanted it to, like another movie.
Kind of abandoned that thought, didn't you?
There were weird time lapses. Like it reminded me of like The Lion King, which is funny because The Lion King is a movie. It's one of my top 5 movies of all time. And unanimously praised, but
they just jump like a whole decade.
No, it's not that, but it's about the pacing of the film,
yeah,
more than it is how much time has actually passed, like years wise. So it's like she escapes the bad guys in that movie, and like it's like okay, I'm gonna have to go back and hunt them down, and then she's there in the next scene. Whereas like there's no story to her journey, she doesn't discover anything on the way. It reminds me a lot of how
they do that in Tombstone. Really bad.
It reminds me of how Simba leaves Pride Rock, grows up in an instant, sings Hakuna Matata, and goes right back. It's kind of like that, except quicker in Tomb Raider. But other than that, it's easily easily the best video game movie. I like it. I want to see it again. I'll probably wait till it comes out, but
have you seen Tombstone?
It's been a while.
So in Tombstone, they spend most of the movie developing the town and developing how these characters have to, you know, when the movie starts, they're at the end of their careers as doing what they've done.
Right.
And this set of circumstances and events takes place to where they have to get back into it. Doc Holliday rekindles his relationship, obviously, with what's his name? That one guy.
Wyatt Earp.
And
is that actually it?
Yeah, of course.
I was just thinking of a Old West guy.
And they're gonna hunt down the Red Sashes, the cowboys.
Yeah.
And this is like this big thing that they lead up to. And after like the climax showdown that starts off this war between the two, the next 5 minutes of the movie is just this montage of them literally riding on horses shooting cowboys. And then the next thing you know, there's this showdown with the main big bad. It takes place in a second, and then and then Doc Holliday dies.
Yeah.
Doc Holliday and Val Kilmer's performance in that movie is everything. He's
really good.
Fucking incredible. Such an iconic performance.
Isn't it hilarious how there was a time when people used to die from... Does he have tuberculosis?
Yeah. He coughs too much.
Yeah.
He's just sweating through the
and he's
entire
going to
thing.
die because of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you think about how our society is built on people who used to murder each other over spices.
Yeah.
That's the most ridiculous thing to
And
me.
Wyatt Earp in that movie is a fucking cock.
Kurt Russell?
Yes, he is a cocksucker in that movie. Like,
I'm sorry to hear that.
His wife is addicted to laudanum? I can't remember. It's essentially heroin, liquid heroin. And he's just like, I should take it easy on that. And she's like, fuck you. And all of a sudden, like, he just has the hot to this other woman. They're riding around on horses together, and it's just like, well, how dare you develop a problem and want to leave me? And it's like, you're being a cocksucker. And he has the most over-the-top
mustache.
He delivers some of the most over-the-top lines in that
dialogue.
movie. Yeah, like that movie, it's fun. It's how I feel about that movie, how some people feel about watching Fast and Furious movies.
Right.
Like, there's one line where he says, what does he say? You gonna strip that smoke wagon, or you gonna stand there and bleed? And it's just like, come on, man. Come on.
That deserves a rewatch. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Rewatched it the other day.
Yeah.
And it's
right after Inside Man?
It's a lot of fun. No, I only got through like 10 minutes of Inside Man. And
I want to hear your reaction to
Kanye West?
This Kanye Wyoming thing. And then
he's got a house right next to...
Is it Wyoming?
Yeah, he's got a house right next to Brad Pitt.
I was going to say...
Do you know this about Wyoming? Like, a bunch of famous people are going there.
Really?
Now?
Why? Because it's everybody who wants to have a ranch?
Well, it's sort of interesting. There was one point in time where Kayla was like really big on relocating to Montana.
Oh, God.
And what's funny about that, so there's some places in this country that are just completely deserted, it seems. Like, they're just... Most of the state is just untouched.
Right.
Which is cool because it's beautiful. I mean, these places are beautiful landscapes, but there's just nothing there. But the towns that are there apparently are just like really, really fascinating and interesting. Like in Montana, even though it's this very rural place, the places that are there, the cities, are like most big cities in the country, where they're very liberal. They're very sort of liberal. I mean, like, they're very hipstery. They're very artistic. They think about the arts, and music is very prominent. Anyways, a lot of famous people seem to be going to these secluded areas because they're secluded. They can be inspired and influenced.
It's like Matthew Fox. He moved to Oregon. He missed the seasons.
Yeah. Does he still live? Does he still have a place in Hawaii?
Probably.
Isn't that funny how... This is really side tangent. Isn't it funny how all the people that were involved with Lost for a long time, they filmed that show in Hawaii and they just live there now? because they love it so much.
I don't know if all of them do.
A bunch do.
But Terry O'Quinn went back to shoot Hawaii 5-0 there. And, of course...
Doesn't JJ still have a place in Hawaii? Or maybe I'm thinking of maybe Damon and...
I was going to say JJ wouldn't have a reason to do that because of Lost. I mean, he might...
Maybe it was Damon Lindelof that still has a place in Hawaii.
I don't know.
I just remember a lot of people... I think... What's his name? Dominic Monaghan talked about living in Hawaii for a long time after that. And I mean, I get it. Like
Dominic Monaghan loves Instagram. Do you follow him on Instagram?
Dominic Monaghan is strange because... Let's talk about Dominic Monaghan for a second. So... He's odd because this is a guy who had this career from being in Lord of the Rings, right? Just from that alone. Massive movie. In fact, going into Lost...
Which is weird because he's such a nothing character in
right,
that movie.
But going into Lost, he was one of the most recognizable people.
He's part of the Fellowship, I get it, but he's also just a very side character is my point.
But at the time, coming off of Lord of the Rings, a very recognizable person.
Yes.
After the fact, still a very iconic person, probably more so from Lost, I would say, than from Lord of the Rings.
But yeah, he was the guy from Lord of the Rings at the time, whereas nobody else had that.
And now,
in that show,
would you argue that he's Charlie from Lost?
Yeah,
yeah, and he's just doing some. He doesn't really act much anymore, but he has like animal shows.
He's been in a couple of like straight to DVD kind of movies.
Yeah,
but he's more involved with like nature stuff.
Yeah, he's been on.
He's an adventurer.
He has shows about like animals and this and that.
Right.
He's been on Rogan like multiple times. He's a fan of Manchester United, so I see him on Manchester United content all the time. It's just like
he's just kind of now he's just being Dominic Monaghan.
Yeah, it's like
on things.
It's like
it's actually kind of cool.
He went through a 10-year spell. He's a younger guy, I would say. He's still probably in his 30s?
He's probably 40.
Okay. Whatever. He went through a part of his life, made his money, and now he's doing whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah. I think it's cool.
I do too. I think it's great. What were we talking about? Hawaii? Oh, Wyoming.
Yeah.
So people want to move to Wyoming, I guess. Apparently Brad Pitt has a place out there that's where he's painting pictures of Angelina Jolie and listening to Bon Iver. And
he's gonna get back with Jen. It's okay.
It just
because Jen and Justin Theroux are out now. Isn't that disappointing?
How did you feel about that when that happened?
I don't know.
I was a little bit sad.
I was sad
for
too.
Justin. I said, "What is going on with Jennifer Aniston?"
Because I love the shit out of both of those people. Both of them.
Yeah,
I always have.
I'm not this guy.
And by always, I mean the past few years. Because Justin Theroux was just a guy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not this guy normally, but I have such like a strange attachment to Justin Theroux specifically because I have this strange attachment to The Leftovers that I felt like I still have him in my back pocket. And him being married to Jennifer Aniston was sort of like a thing like I watched Leftovers with Justin Theroux, who's married to Jennifer Aniston, that when they broke up, I was legitimately heartbroken for him. Yeah. And I followed along with some of the drama. Did you hear that they just couldn't agree on where to live and how to decorate your house?
Right. Isn't that nuts?
It's like, obviously you go with whatever Jennifer Aniston wants. Just do it.
He's kind of like a free spirit kind of guy too.
Yeah, he is.
Don't you follow him? He's kind of an adventurer.
I don't follow him, but I know.
You don't follow him on Instagram?
I don't, but I know that he's like really into fashion. Like
and
super into
he's just kind of an adventurer in his own right. Like a motorcycle guy, likes to drive around the country on his bike.
Yeah, and apparently she likes to hang out with her girlfriends. And
right.
She's more of like, he likes to party.
And he goes all over the world too.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if she does that as much. So
yeah, she likes to have book club and stuff, which is cool.
It's cool. I wish them both the best.
Maybe you can date her.
I'd love to.
She's going after Brad. Oh, that's another thing that she had these like Post-it notes. Did you see that
from Brad?
Yeah, just like laying around.
I read
that thing.
The most like textbook.
I read this thing. It was like it was definitely a tabloid thing where it was like Justin Theroux was uncomfortable coming home and finding this, and imagine living up to.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's funny how like Brad and Angelina and Brad and Jen and Justin, all of that is a movie. Like it's so weird because we're not supposed to mistake the celebrities for the characters that they play, but like
Yeah.
because their lives were so public, and I don't know if it's because it was crafted by tabloids and things like that, but the way that they carried out their relationships, Brad breaking up with Jen because he was working with Angelina on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like all of that stuff, it felt like a love story that was happening on a scripted page, and now all these years later it comes full circle. It's hilarious.
I just find it interesting and fascinating to hear things. Well, I mean, I get it, I guess, but like some things that came out about that was like Jennifer Aniston just wanted to live like the life of buying a house, having kids. Maybe, I don't know about all that, but it seemed like she wanted to live a normal life. And it's just like, you can't. I don't think you can do that if you're living that life.
For years, it's always been about, when is Jen going to be a mom? Because I don't know if there's like a clock ticking, because she's getting older and older, and she's gone so long wanting to be a mother and not getting to be a mother. So a lot of people like to focus on that too. It's got to be really difficult. You said Jessica, aren't JT and Jessica Biel like swingers?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that rumor.
They're very in love with each other.
I know, but I think they're also swingers.
I don't know. I just assume
somebody look that up for me.
I just assume that most of Hollywood is like that. Maybe that's, a bad assumption to make, but I'll tell you what's interesting.
I think a lot of co-stars sleep with each other.
I'll tell you what's interesting is listening to Fighter and the Kid. Brian Callen he's not the most famous person in the world in terms of what he does as an actor.
Yeah.
But he's been in some big movies, and he runs around with like a lot of famous people, and he lives in Calabasas and this and that. So he sees things, and that is kind of the thing about famous people. It seems like they just have pretty open relationships. I mean, but some people don't. They're not having it. Like Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Right.
She was like, "Fuck no."
Yeah.
Hell no.
I'm surprised they didn't get divorced.
She had that shit on lockdown.
I know.
I think more women should celebrate that moment. Just like, she laid it down. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you're gonna fuck around? How about I write not just an album about it? How about I write one of the greatest albums of all time?
You should have seen Jay's face as he was doing that. That was so great.
How about I just change the music industry by making? I'm gonna put it on HBO.
A video album
on HBO.
Somehow Beyonce is speaking through Jay right now. I wish you all could see his face and how interactive he's being with this.
Excuse me? Like, it's so much like there was those shots. You didn't watch the Grammys. So at the Grammys, Jay-Z was nominated for his album 444. The only reason, in my opinion, they nominated him was so Beyonce would show up. They were set in the front row.
Yeah.
In the middle of the Grammys, Beyonce just left.
Really?
She just wasn't there anymore.
Oh, wow.
But there's like pictures of them like giving their kids snacks like normal parents.
I did see that, yeah.
And yeah, just in the middle of it, she's just not there anymore.
Wow. Is the kid there?
I don't know. But it's just hilarious that she, like, obviously her being there is a bigger deal than Jay-Z. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
People need to relax. Anyways, back to Wyoming. No, I'm just kidding.
We can get back to it. I've never really, I don't really care about celebrity magazines and things like that, but I remember, and this was just like last year, but Chris Evans and Jenny Slate were dating for a long time. You know Jenny Slate? Mona Lisa from Parks and Rec. John Raphael's sister.
Yes.
Famous comedian.
Yes.
Actress. They were dating, and I guess they knew each other. They're in that movie Gifted, where she plays the teacher of Chris Evans' daughter.
Yes.
And so I guess they met there, and they were dating for a long time.
Oh, they're together?
Huh?
They're together?
They were together.
Okay.
At the time, and then they broke up, and it came out, and it was Chris Evans, Jenny Slate break up, and they were like interviewed after that, and they were like so incredibly heartbroken, and it became one of those couples.
Yeah,
it became one of those couples that like I was involved in. Like I just want Chris Evans and Jenny Slate to get back together.
I know.
And the weird stuff was like I think if I remember correctly, she was like almost crying on air when she was being interviewed about him because she missed him and they just admired each other so much. And then,
what do you think it comes down to?
Well, hold on.
This is like, what a strange...
I want to talk about 2 fascinating videos that came out since that happened.
What a strange conversation.
I know. It's weird.
I'm fine with it, though. I like talking about stuff like this.
So, Chris Evans posted a funny video on, I think it was on Twitter. For one, he's one of the best follows on Twitter.
Can this be one of the titles of our episode, Hollywood Gossip?
Celebrity tabloids.
I would love if we just developed... Guys, listen. I'm actually about it. Like, I really am about the gossip. Like, we will develop a show about gossip.
You want to know what show I like that I have no business liking or watching, but I do anyway?
American Idol.
When Joel McHale does, like, when he did The Soup, and now he does the Joel McHale show for Netflix. It's all about reality TV and celebrity gossip and him just making fun of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything that he's referencing, but it's extremely entertaining, and I don't know why. But anyway, so the 2 videos that I wanted to talk about, Chris Evans posted a video of him laughing at his dog. So he's just filming his dog doing whatever it was doing, and whatever it's doing is making Chris laugh. But Chris isn't in the shot. You hear him laughing and filming, and then there's another laugh. And all of us recognized it.
Oh, no.
And it's Jenny Slate laughing.
Oh, really?
And I was like, wait, but they broke up. And I was reading all the comments on Twitter. That's totally Jenny's laugh. And everyone was going nuts like, they're back together. Cause it was,
and then you realize it's an old video.
It wasn't old. They were definitely hanging out, and it was definitely her laugh. There's no doubt about it. But then it was like a couple months ago. Someone had filmed Chris Evans in like a parking garage after an event, and he was trying, and like whoever was filming Chris Evans, like clearly picking up this chick, and it was hilarious.
Of course,
that wasn't Jenny Slate.
They probably had shared custody of this dog.
Maybe
that's how it works sometimes.
But anyway, it was him being just a fucking pimp, and he was just like, he was about to get in. Yeah, he was about to get in his car. His boy pulled up in the car, and Chris Evans was like talking to this girl, and she was just fucking into it. And so they were talking, and you could tell that he was like looking around to see if people were watching him, and then he gets in the car, and I guess he gets her number, and it was just hilarious. But it was also heartbreaking because I remembered how much joy I got from hearing Jenny laugh in that video.
Isn't there like a celebrity Tinder or dating app that exists out there that's like a premium thing where you just meet like rich people and famous people on it?
I don't know.
I think it does exist. I could be wrong. I think they talked about it on Fighter and the Kid one time.
I think famous people use Tinder though.
I know for a fact.
Doesn't Eminem?
I don't know.
There's a story I think Eminem picks up.
Well, you know, there's like a big thing, and I think it's in bigger cities. Well, maybe it's specifically in LA where like somebody basically was catfishing as Brendan Schaub on Tinder.
Oh, really?
And he was just like, had to come out and be like, I am not on Tinder. Like which obviously his demographic on his show doesn't really apply to males or females, but not that females don't watch the show, but just the demographic as a whole. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just
the likelihood of those girls on Tinder matching with him.
Yeah.
Don't watch or follow his show.
Right. But he was like, I actually celebrated. Like, absolutely. Like, just, I think it's hilarious. But
is he married?
He's engaged. He's engaged to his baby mama.
Okay.
Who is like a big personality on like Telemundo or something like that. So anyways.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyways, the whole thing you're talking about with Chris Evans and Jenny Slate is how my reaction to Chad Gilbert and Haley Williams from Paramore. Like they have to issue like press releases, and it's just like, man, that sucks.
Yeah,
that is how it is. But anyways,
Kanye in Wyoming.
Back to Kanye in Wyoming. So this news story came out, I guess it was on Pitchfork this week, that Kanye was working on new music apparently in Wyoming. Now, this is actually an old story dating back to last year, but it came up again because I guess he not only did he go back out there, but he's out there with a bunch of people. Like Travis Scott was apparently out there. Nas was out there. And it's just interesting. This is like a really strange time to anticipate a Kanye album. Obviously, coming off of what happened with him and his mental breakdown on stage, and hanging out with Donald Trump after he got elected to president, and then he had another breakdown, like with the where he had to be hospitalized and this and that. So it's just kind of strange because he has literally been off the radar for an entire year, and that's just not how Kanye typically is. Like, he's usually out there doing stuff, and any time leading up to an album, like, we kind of know what's going on with him. Like, he had those songs that came out before The Life of Pablo. He had All Day, and he had Only One with Paul McCartney and 4 or 5 Seconds with Rihanna. And it's just like, we kind of know what to expect. Not only do we not know what to expect now with him, sonically, it feels like The Life of Pablo was closing like a really big chapter of his career. I've said it before. That album to me was essentially a celebration of his entire career. Over time, there are many different sounds of Kanye West. There's your early era, those first 3 albums with Graduation and all those albums. And then he had 808s and Heartbreak. Then he had Dark and Twisted Fantasy sound. Then he had Yeezus sound. And then The Life of Pablo sounded like all of those just done. Like, you can go track by track and hear influence from throughout his entire career. So it's kind of like, what is there left to do?
So do you think going to Wyoming and doing this is a result of him having this mental breakdown? I know that we've had a little bit of time away from that, because I know that was a few months ago. Mm-hmm. But him kind of getting away from it all and just kind of finding work elsewhere with all these people and collaborate. I mean, do you think that
he's done
is
this
a result
before?
He has done it before.
Not to Wyoming. The last time he did this was, or something like this, was after the Taylor Swift debacle / after his mother passed away, which we'll talk about this in the More Than Music episode that we do that I do for Kanye and 808s and Heartbreak. But after all that happened, another very public thing, he retreated to to Hawaii with a group of people. At the time, it was Kid Cudi and Mr. Hudson, and I think some other people too. And he created 808s and Heartbreak. Not only probably his most pivotal album in his career that really shifted everything, but that album specifically defined how not just rap and hip hop music is today, but the most popular music genre is today. If it wasn't for that album, we wouldn't have the music that we have now, love it or hate it. We wouldn't have people like Drake sounding like they do. Probably wouldn't even go so far to say like The Weeknd sounding like he does. He also did that with Dark and Twisted Fantasy too, just because it was like he had so much success that he went back to Hawaii and did it. So that's exciting. I think that he's there specifically for something interesting like that. This is also not how The Life of Pablo was recorded. If people don't remember, he basically announced The Life of Pablo and did that entire album in like a month. I'm sure there were ideas and beats and stuff floating out there, but he announced that the album was going to come out, and then he sat in a studio with all these people. I mean, Rihanna, Chance the Rap. I mean, there's a picture out that's floating out there with like the track listing from day one when he first started working on it, and then he posted the track listing, the same piece of paper with notes, and it gets crazier and crazier. It's so much so where it looks like a kid like had just taken marker. You know how kids will sit down with a piece of paper and just like,
right.
That's what this paper looked like. And you can literally look at it and there's just like all these names and people writing on it. Like Pharrell Williams will come in and just make a note, or I don't know, just all the, like, even I think celebrities were coming in and just making notes on it. And you're like, how much went into this album?
That's so weird.
It's crazy. Like, it's a lot of fun just to do like a Where's Waldo with this piece of paper. But that's just not how this new project seems like it's going, right? I mean, he's holing himself in Wyoming. He's bringing a team out there, and it seems like he's been crafting it for the last, what seems like, I guess, a year and a half now. And I just don't know what to expect. Like, I literally don't know what to expect. This is also a Kanye West. We've never had Kanye West albums come out and they sound like nothing else that's going on. but it sounds like something that's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Right.
But now we have rap and hip hop as big as it's ever been, and it probably at its most influential. Like, what is his place there? Like, what, it's at the point now where he reminds me of like a Christopher Nolan. It's like he can come out with something that just has no business as being as big as it is, but all we know is we love whatever it is. So
I still don't get Life of Pablo.
Well, what I mean by that is like the greater
concept.
Collective. Yeah. The Dunkirk, for instance.
It is weird to me how popular he has stayed.
Yeah.
Because his music just gets that much more weird and out there. It's weird how he's still that big and present.
Let's take Christopher Nolan out of it and let's throw somebody like Denis Villeneuve. I still look online at all these publications, all these people that love Blade Runner 2049. I didn't even know that IGN, obviously it's a huge website, but IGN ranked it as their favorite movie. Nobody saw it. Very little at the Oscars, but the diehard movie fans worship that movie. And that's sort of how Kanye is to me, except he has greater crossover appeal to a certain extent, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if like kids today that listen to Lil Yachty and, all these people, I don't know what they think about Kanye.
I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if they can do Kanye.
I know, but see, that's the other thing too. That's where he's weird because those same kids love his shoes. They want to buy his shoes and sell his shoes and this and that. So it's weird how he's been able to remain relevant without even existing on the face of planet Earth. And then you take into consideration his relationship with the Kardashians.
Right.
I mean, did you ever see that? Did you ever see that really funny Saturday Night Live bit where it was like this new show on E where it's like, where's Kanye? And it's like him trying to hide from cameras.
I don't know if I have.
It's fucking hilarious.
I don't know if I have seen
We might watch it in this break that we're about to take because I have to pee. But I don't know, man. From your perspective, what do you think about all this shit, like with Kanye? Like, it's obviously anytime his name comes up, the entire ground of music just shifts.
Anytime stuff like this happens, I just want it. I want it so badly to be something. I want it to be the thing that I'm involved in, because I do think it's cool when. I like the idea of artists secluding themselves and going away to make this project.
Right.
But Kanye specifically, I haven't really connected with him the past few albums.
Yeah.
So I would like to not only appreciate the idea that goes behind the album, but I want to appreciate the result as well.
Yeah.
So if you're right on when it comes to him opening a new chapter, maybe developing a new sound, maybe evolving, and I hope that's the part that I'm excited about, and I hope that you're right about that.
The best way I can relate some of this stuff, and listen, I get my appreciation for the life of Pablo, and I said this when I did my album of the year list that year. My appreciation of that album, one of the reasons it was the #1 album for me that year, is because of things that I experienced outside of it. It's the same thing we talk about when we watch Cloverfield for the first time. It's the same thing we talk about when we talk about Lost and how much we love Lost. I'm excited for, there's no question in my mind that whenever this next Kanye album comes out, there will be, he's not one of these people, I don't think we're ever going to get a surprise Kanye album because he loves talking about it so much. Like, if people don't know, The Life of Pablo had 5 different album names.
Right.
At one point it was...
even I knew that.
Yeah, it was called Waves at one point. There was an album cover for like some of these names before it was The Life of Pablo.
Right.
And like, I mean, just all the stuff. He was doing radio interviews talking about it. Like at one point he was like, this is a gospel album. And it's just like, no. He's like, we got Kirk Franklin in here working on songs. He was on like one song. All that was a result of, I guarantee you, they had just finished Ultra Light Beam, and he was so hyped on it. And they finished the song Waves, and he was so hyped. This is the album.
Right.
I think at one point it was called Wolves, maybe? Was it?
Wolves?
Yeah, he has a song called Wolves.
Waves, Wolves, Life of Pablo.
Yeah. He had said at one point the next album was going to be called Ultra Graphics Card 16 or something like that. It's like an ode to video games.
What?
What?
Anyway.
Bill Cosby is innocent. Remember when he just said that on Twitter? So I'm excited for people to follow along with all this crazy shit. Like, it's one of the only things in music that we have that's even close to Avengers Infinity War trailer, like dissecting things like that.
There's not a whole lot of dissecting you can do with Basement or Ben Howard.
Exactly.
That will translate, get everybody's attention. And
so many artists today, so many artists today just like they just go missing, right? I mean, I don't know what Frank Ocean's doing right now. But when his album comes out, his next album, it'll be like the most important thing for like 2 weeks, you know? It is unfortunate. Musicians need to do better, but we've talked about that. I need to pee.
Okay,
again.
let's pee, and then when we get back, we'll do the Facebook Q&A.
Let's do that.
All right.
The Sight and Sound YouTube page is the place to be. We always appreciate you checking out all the content we put out here on our podcast feed, but there is a ton of supplementary content in addition to what we talk about here. I'm over there doing album reviews for all the latest album releases. Ryan has you covered with movie news, reactions, and reviews. And from time to time, we even do television reactions in addition to original content that honestly is just meant to entertain you. Go to the description box of this podcast, click the link for the YouTube channel, and subscribe for even more Sight and Sound goodness.
Hey. So let's talk real quick before we get into these questions. I want to talk about this this Yeezy bracket challenge thing that we're doing. So for those of you that don't know, I know there's a lot of people that aren't in the Facebook group, but one of the reasons that we push the Facebook group, we don't really have anything invested in it other than just, I think it's a lot of fun, but we create content inside of this Facebook group sort of to just give back to people. And this thing came out of nowhere. Last week there was somebody else had made this Yeezy tournament of his songs, like a bracket March Madness thing. And I saw it, and like most other things in life, I said to myself, I could do that better. And I basically made it a democratic thing where I had people vote for the top 4 songs on all of his albums. Anyways, long story short, if you want to participate in it, they're going head to head right now, all of the songs, and you can go in the Facebook group, join it, and vote on all the tracks. And this is something that, believe it or not, Ryan and I have been talking about doing something similar to this for a really, really long time, for like years even. Should I go into the background of this whole thing?
I don't even know what you're talking about, so go ahead.
Okay, so Phil Wilson, who used to co-host Film Beef with Ryan Snelling, he used to do these really fun tournament things. And at one point, I told him that he should make content about it. He should do a podcast about it. He should do YouTube videos about it and this and that. And he thought it was a really good idea. And I thought it was a really good idea. And I told Ryan, I said, I'm going to give him, this was a long time ago. I told him I was going to give him like 6 months. And if he didn't do it, that I was just going to do it myself. And he didn't do it. And now we've been thinking about doing it and wanting to do it for a while. This is kind of a trial run of it, but in the future, if we have enough time, maybe we'll do more, like movie stuff, TV stuff, music stuff. Maybe we'll put them head to head. Like maybe one day you'll be able to vote for Kanye West versus Iron Man or something like that. I don't know. And we can actually make content around it. We're looking for our Schmodown, so maybe that's what we'll do.
Okay, so I posted in the Sight and Sound Facebook group yesterday. We were going to do sort of a mailbag Q&A portion, so you ready to get into it?
Let's do it. I haven't even looked at this post, so
Matt Whitehurst. By the way, again, this is something that came out of the Sight and Sound Facebook group. We'll do this every now and then, so to keep up with things like this, please join.
You posted on your Twitter, and somebody asked a question, and we both answered it there.
That question also shows up here, so
okay.
I still have that in front of me. But anyway, so this comes from the Sight and Sound Facebook group. The link is in the description if you want to join and talk about this kind of stuff with us. So our boy Matt Whitehurst, what are your guys' predictions on the Infinity War opening weekend? I'm gonna go. I believe Well, I mean, it's hard to argue this. It's going to be the biggest movie ever made, period. I think it's going to make at least $265 million opening weekend. It's going to be just absolutely insane. I'm just curious. I need to look up Titanic real quick. I'm trying to relate it to that opening. Oh my God, that's hilarious. The opening weekend of Titanic is 28 million. Oh my God, that is hysterical. How weird is that?
Yeah, we had a conversation about this a while ago with Dunkirk and this and that about how opening weekend numbers kind of just don't mean anything.
Avatar, 77 million.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they don't really mean much. Like it's a big deal when things open really, really big because it's fun to talk about. But the longevity of some of these movies, like Inception, made a ton of money, but its opening weekend was nothing. I think I'm feeling. I didn't really know what was low and what was high, honestly. I'm not really good about predicting opening weekends for massive movies like this. Excuse me, I was kind of feeling 260, so it made me happy when you said 265.
I'm gonna say 265. It's just gonna be unreal. It's gonna be absolutely unreal.
$1.
Would you rather? This is from Brando, our boy. Would you rather fart 15 times a day, but the farts are 1 minute in duration, but you can't do anything about it? Or would you rather fart once a day, but for 15 minutes straight, but it's the same time every day at 2 p.m.? This is easy. I would rather have the 15-minute fart every day at 2 p.m. as opposed to 15 1-minute farts, and you don't.
Yeah, you can just schedule it. You schedule it.
I don't think he worded the question properly. There's loopholes
How dare you,
here.
Brenda?
There's loopholes here. Of course, if you
hey, there's poop holes.
If you know every day, it's just complete. It could be a medical condition. I would let my employer know.
Yeah.
At 2 p.m. every day, I need to take a lunch and sit in my car.
Yeah, it's kind of like I know when I'm going to fall asleep. It's usually going to be at night, so I know. I know not to do anything around night.
It's so, and I mean, as opposed to.
Come on, Brando, you're better than this.
15 1-minute farts, but you can't do. I mean, it's like, no.
You're better than this.
It's just Ralph Lenaric said that's a lose-lose. I mean, I don't know. Just plan your day right.
We're being too hard on Brando.
Ryan Martinson, who are some directors who you like or love that other people dislike? I don't.
Questions like this come up a lot where it's like, what movie do you love that people hate?
This kind of falls into. It falls into the idea that sometimes my opinions on things falls in line with the popular opinion. Like the if a
There's
director
a reason for that. I mean, usually when it's good, it's good.
Right. I guess J.J. Abrams is one, but Taylor, come in here. Will you play Fortnite while we continue to podcast? Yeah. Okay, do that. My
sister. Do you know about Fortnite?
I love Fortnite.
Yeah, but do you know what happened with Fortnite this week?
What happened with it?
Here, let me move my.
Okay, my sister's here.
I'm gonna inform her about
She's gonna play Fortnite as we podcast.
Do you know who Ninja is?
Oh, he played with Drake.
That's right.
She knows more about pop culture than I do.
Of course. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
No.
Okay.
Gary V. Taylor, do you remember that entrepreneur I used to watch all the time on YouTube? Gary V.
I don't think so.
I thought you did. Anyway.
If Ryan and I launch a Sight and Sound Twitch, if Ryan and I launch a Sight and Sound Twitch account and we set up a camera in here, will you play Fortnite and get us an audience on Twitch?
Yeah, but I wouldn't be that good.
So?
Does that matter? Or
No.
people? I was gonna say I don't
no.
think it matters if people are good on Twitch.
Hell no.
Because if anything, you're just watching someone be dumb on a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can make it funny.
What would Goodman say about Fortnite?
He plays it.
It's just really fucking hard. Goodman, our longtime producer of the show.
Okay. Anyways, what were we talking about?
The question was, are there directors that you like or love that other people? I think to some people, J.J. Abrams is a joke. So that's
Really?
why I'm going with him. Even though he's still like, when it comes to popcorn directors, he might be the New York Yankees. So I might be picking someone who's ultimately still one of the most popular things ever. But he's still the butt of a lot of jokes to people. So I think I would defend someone like JJ or Damon Lindelof is another example. Even though he's not a director,
right?
If we opened up the question to what filmmaker,
there's creators, in the movie space,
I would say Damon Lindelof. But Damon Lindelof has two different audiences, though. There are people that cherish Damon Lindelof are his TV audience, whereas the movie fandom bubble doesn't want Damon Lindelof anywhere near their movie properties because he's never done anything that's universally praised when it comes to film.
So Darren Aronofsky is somebody that I enjoy most of his catalog, but I don't care for him that much. He started to annoy me more over time. What's his name? I've been forgetting his name lately. That did District 9.
Neil Blomkamp.
Neil Blomkamp is somebody that I enjoy. I haven't seen Chappie, but now the music's playing in this thing. How dare you? Does the noise need to be on for what's this thing called? Frontline?
No, she is yelling at her friends when she plays this. She doesn't need the sound.
Okay, fair enough. Do they play with her?
Huh?
Do they play with her?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I don't know if she plays. I don't know if they're in the game.
Yeah.
But she'll talk to them while they're also playing.
But before we
because it's like a free for all game.
Before we move on from this question, I think there's some other ones too. Like Wes Anderson. I don't know how overnight people like kind of started hating on Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson is a polarizing, I feel like, director because there are some people that are obsessed with him and there's some people that can't stand him because he's a little whimsy. How do you feel about Tim Burton?
He's annoying. He's
what Tim Burton movies do you like a lot?
I like Big Fish.
Big Fish. For me, Big Fish was forgettable.
I like Big Fish. Okay. I feel like there's one I'm clearly forgetting
Edward
that
Scissorhands.
I actually don't have a problem with.
Taylor, what's your favorite Tim Burton movie? The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like I would like what I like. Did you see Sleepy Hollow when it came out?
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mind. I'll tell you what I didn't mind for it being a musical was the Barber of Fleet Street. Yeah. What's that one called?
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
I think the only one I'm fine with Batman. It's just okay. But I think the only one I would probably like that I haven't seen yet, I was kind of into the idea for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Even though it still does have all the quirky stuff that I don't like about him. I liked like the X-Men angle to that movie and the time travel element to it, but ultimately it didn't find a whole lot of success. But
Taylor guilty of cultural appropriation, playing as a black character.
There you go.
How dare you?
Brody Koning, when is Sight and Sound meetup happening? This was the one that was on Twitter that Lamar asked us.
He wasn't the one that asked this, was he? On Twitter?
Lamar asked us.
Okay,
Lamar on Twitter.
Is he in our Facebook group?
I don't know. He might be. Not sure because sometimes people have different names, like on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I'm finding that out.
So it gets confusing sometimes. We have a long way to go. Like a long way to go when it comes to anything like that. There's a lot of things that we want to accomplish before. I mean, I think we've talked about doing something locally when it comes to like doing something at a local comic book shop. We've also talked about podcasting live at a brewery.
We talked about there's one of the closest things that I feel like is going to happen is that Under Oath show that Luke Jaggers talked about coming down for, and I'm sure Eric will be there. You think Josh will come up for that?
No, he might be on tour.
Okay. Well, I feel like there will be a lot of people there that we know that also listen to the podcast. I could be completely wrong about that.
Ross Cassidy, self-serving to my own personal nerdy interest. If you could pick a movie, show, existing IP to be developed into a theme park attraction, what would it be and why? Well,
one of my favorite things about Ross is his passion for theme parks.
He fucking loves
I love it.
Amusement parks.
It's like so much of a niche thing. If you do not have a YouTube channel talking about theme parks in the next year, I'm going to be very angry at you. But I'm not going to threaten to beat you up because he could beat me up. He's a big man.
You know how like we talked about having more of a comic book presence on Sight and Sound, even though we don't know how to go about it.
We should have a theme park presence.
If it was, that would be awesome.
I'm going to do the same thing to you that I did to Phil Wilson. If you don't capitalize on this in a year, then I'm going to take it from you.
Well, if we move to Florida, we can hang out with Ross and film him at theme parks.
You know what, though? I just went to Universal over Christmas, and I was bummed out about it.
That's a lot of different factors, though. It's different than living there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was gonna say,
is this game anything like Minecraft?
No, it's like.
Okay.
well, you get to build things, but it's not like Minecraft,
It's more cartoony than I thought it would be.
right? Yeah.
Is this a game you have to like purchase? Like,
No, it's free. Ooh,
it's free?
You just download it
Why?
from the arcade.
I can't hear anything, so this is like stressing me out.
Oh, that's true. I forgot she does have to hear like footsteps from the other players.
Oh,
That's okay. You don't have an audience or anything.
sit closer.
Kevin Marks, I don't really have an answer because actually anything that I could come up with, there probably has been a ride for it already. Like there's a Transformers ride, right? I think there's a Transformers
Yeah, there's
ride
a Transformers ride.
Kevin
But
Marks.
it's not really a ride. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like one of those shows where they do. I think it is.
Yeah.
So we're talking about. I didn't even get to answer that. So we're talking about things that need to be developed into rides itself. I think.
I don't have. Oh, the controller headset? Keep talking.
I think I would love to see an Inception ride. I think that would be so fucking fun to like have it be something where like the city is closing in on you, or you're like floating down that hallway with Joseph Gordon-Levitt doing jujitsu on people. That would be fun.
Kevin
as hell.
Marks suggested X-Men Danger Room. But again, that's probably a sit-down 3D experience, you know? It's probably not set up, Taylor. Just play. Is it more annoying to explain vaping or to explain podcasting?
Oh my God. What a great question.
Podcasting hands down. Because it's not necessarily...
Wait,
it's not
you don't vape.
So? The difference is people know what vaping is more than they do. The question asks, which is worse to explain?
Yeah.
Podcasting is harder to explain because to the general population, they know that vaping is just a cigarette replacement. Whether they know all of the ins or yes, they do, Jay.
No.
People know what vaping is when it comes to just replacing a cigarette. They don't know that podcasting has replaced internet radio.
This is a dong perspective.
No, it isn't.
Because
I'm speaking as a general person.
You have a far less experience with explaining it to somebody.
It's the question is what's worse to explain,
right.
not what you hate talking about with people the most.
Right. I would argue explaining vaping to somebody is extremely, extremely frustrating.
I don't think people need to be explained.
So the
concept behind
people
vaping.
who have come up to me. I'm not going to name a name here, but there was somebody one time who wanted to ask me questions about it. And I've told this before, but they already had their mind made up about what their position it was, saying things like, "Oh, popcorn lung," and "Oh, there's all this stuff that's wrong." And I'm just like,
sounds like my mom.
How much research have you done with it, or are you just hearing what people have regurgitated to you? And it's just like, I don't have to. Usually with podcasting, I'm just telling them. I essentially do a radio show on the internet. That's about as far as I can go with it. And
I guess, okay, what I'm equating it to is I think, yes, you just spoke on the in-depth stuff.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think still most people, they know that vaping is a cigarette replacement, whether they know the technicalities of it, blah, 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 blah. I think people understand the concept of vaping, the general populace, whether you do it or not. I think people understand the concept of vaping more than they understand the concept of us podcasting. And I guess I'm equating it to because even yesterday I was thinking about how could I explain what I do to people for them to instantly get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about just calling it a hosting gig. I'm going to try that out. Oh, I host a couple of shows, like anybody on ESPN hosts. The way Stephen A hosts First Take on ESPN, I do that exact same thing, but with pop culture and on a much smaller scale. I feel like that's a much easier way to get to what
I remember
we do.
I've actually asked this similar question to people who do podcasting / YouTube content creating as a career. I asked Mark Bricky one time, who does Adventures in Design podcast. That's his job. And he said that he tells people that he's just a personality, like a broadcast personality. And I asked Grim Green, who literally does this about vaping. his statement was that he just makes YouTube content, and that's his job. He doesn't really go in depth into it. Yeah, for me, it's just very frustrating to explain to people the whole vaping thing, just because I don't know. It's people they already have opinions on it, and it is polarizing. It's like if you have a shitty opinion about smoking already, which I mean I get it, rightfully so. Like they see, I don't know. There's nothing relatively positive that comes from vaping other than you're not smoking cigarettes.
Right. Okay, so your answer is vaping and mine is podcasting?
Yeah.
Okay.
What a beautiful landscape in this video game. I'm too old for this. I'm just kidding.
I don't like answering questions like this. I like seeing other people answer them. So maybe my sister maybe my sister can help us out with this one. Who do you think would be a bigger threat? 100 tiny Snellings or one giant-sized Jay? I don't like answering these questions because I'm more interested in what other people think, whether it's right or wrong.
I'm already annoyed with one of you, so having a bunch of really little ones would just be...
That's the bigger threat then.
Yeah. A bigger me would just be somebody walking around being very chill all the time. Just like...
I'm getting shot at.
Okay. It would just be me hanging out saying yes.
Taylor, it's fine. It's for the podcast.
God dang it. I came in 27th.
One,
dare you.
Ralph Lenardic said one giant-sized Jay, he would vape on them, and it would be like throwing smoke grenades, except they'd smell good.
I would literally just change
Taylor Morgan?
I would just change the weather. I would just, if you want it a little overcast, I'd just blow a big old
Kevin
vape
Mark
cloud.
said, I just pictured tiny Ryans jumping on people like the dinosaurs in the Lost World. Anup asks, if you could meet any famous individual, alive or dead, who would they be? I would probably say dead. Bruce Lee.
Stephen Hawking. Okay.
Bruce Lee. Because growing up, and the reason why I was so fascinated with him,
Lil Peep.
Lil
Peep.
More than anybody ever in my life, if there was someone that I thought was an actual like superhuman, it was Bruce Lee. Like the way that people are passionate and admire someone like a LeBron James for being the elite of in their field.
This is hanging out with? Is that what the question was?
It's who would you meet, alive or dead? Any famous individual. So if I was
alive
to choose,
or dead?
Alive or dead. Dead, I would choose probably Bruce Lee because he's the only person that I know of that's like a superhuman, and I admire so much in that way.
Yeah, dead. It's weird. So just recently, like within this year, I became probably more appreciative and more, I don't know, just more fascinated with Nirvana than I ever have in my entire life. Like I've went through most of my life just being like, yeah, Nirvana's cool. They were a big deal. But for whatever reason, I just like deep dived into Nirvana lately. And I think it would be fascinating to not only talk to Kurt Cobain, but just I would want him, when you actually go back and really pay attention to the songs that he wrote back in the day, it's fucking fascinating. They were as big as they were for what, I mean, they were making some wacky music back in the day.
If Nirvana came out now, there's no way that they blow up.
You know, what's interesting is I think if they would have been on their trajectory that they're on, or that they were on, they would have just been even heavier and even more aggressive.
Like they only worked because they came out when they did, and then they pioneered that for everybody else.
If they were a band, if they just came out today, they would have, nobody would have cared. But if they were on, it would be fascinating to see what music would have done over time if they would have lasted, because their whole thing was to make this crazy music, but he wanted to do that while writing songs as simple as the Beatles songs were. And alive, of course, I'd want to meet Justin Vernon, of course.
I think someone like a Kevin Feige.
You want to meet Kevin Feige?
Well, no, I'm changing the question. If I could watch, okay. If I could just watch Kevin Feige for an extended period of time, maybe a couple months or a year, I want to see him. Taylor, don't do this. We're podcasting. Just play.
She can talk.
She's inviting all of her friends to play.
I'm one half of this podcast, and I'll allow it. What's up, Ethan? Shout out to Ethan.
Ethan's on Sight and Sound right now.
Yeah. You're podcasting. This is going to be great. Okay. Can you invite Drake? Can you see if Drake
Is that
wants to
how
play?
this works?
What if Taylor and Drake became friends?
That'd be awesome.
I just want I want to watch Kevin Feige because I want to watch
Call him
him.
Aubrey.
I want to watch him sit in on the production meetings and talk about having all these characters included in movies. Like I would love to see that in ways that Taylor, we have to talk. God.
I love it. I love it.
I know.
This is what I've wanted After Party to always
All right,
be.
let's do a couple more.
Except I wish Taylor was Cody Rayhacker right now.
Sight and Sound Sports coming soon? No.
2020. We've been saying it for a long time.
We
You know what's funny? What were we talking about the other day? We were talking about doing something, and we were talking about the music thing on After Schmo and how we just didn't. I joke about Sight and Sound Sports a lot, and you know how people want our take on sports. I'm sure they just would want that. I have no business doing that. I can talk generally. I can talk about soccer and I can talk about MMA. Like, guys,
I can speak generally, but there's no way I can speak on a team's history.
Yeah,
the people that used to play there. Like that is
not
so
the level
hard
that
for
we
me.
talk about pop culture.
There's
stuff.
no way.
Yeah, I know we joke about it, and listen, I would love to have a Sight and Sound Sports that other people were on that could talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah,
but guys, you don't want to hear us talk about sports like this. Like,
if I could get into a habit, it would have to be at a time when podcasting was my job.
Yeah,
because like if my assignment was to watch tonight's Heat game
right.
and then talk about it tomorrow, I could do that, or I could talk about UK. But when it comes to, I think a proper host needs to sort of know more about the team's history,
100%.
and older athletes and stuff like that, legacy athletes. Things like, that's the stuff that I wouldn't be good at. So I don't know.
Taylor's giving up on her game.
No, I have to join my friend.
Oh, okay, you're gonna join your
Updates
friend.
on Patreon and
Good for you.
1,000 subscriber special. It should have been. I thought the next after party we would do, it would be our interview for the 1,000 subscriber special, but I guess that'll still come. I guess maybe because this after party wasn't necessarily planned. We just decided to do one. But
yeah, what's up with Patreon? I think we're waiting on. We're going to review the awards one more time. Or not the award. Is that what you
the
call
perks?
It? Yeah, we're gonna review the perks. I reviewed them recently and I felt really good about them, but it wouldn't be bad just to go over what they are. Again, how to execute them. You have to make a video, and that's really the only thing standing in our way. Promoting it, getting the material together to promote it.
Why does Ryan hate John Campea?
Well, let me. So you aren't completely under the bus with this. I started to watch the documentary on The Last Jedi the other day, and one of the first faces I saw was Campea, and I literally verbalized. I go, ugh, ugh. And it wasn't even because I don't like John Campea. Listen, John Campea on Collider, he just wasn't my cup of tea. Okay, I didn't agree with him a lot of the times, which is fine, but I also I only could take him in doses, but he was offered to me like a buffet. I mean, he was offered up all the time, constantly. And I just personally, I just didn't care for his character, quote unquote, on screen. It just wasn't for me personally. I don't have any problem with him. I think he's a smart guy. I like checking in on him when I want an additional movie take.
I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's someone who he certainly paved the way for people in this space, but I don't think he'll ever bring anything new to it. Because I remember seeing him develop when they started that streaming service for the Comic-Con HQ, and he was doing Movie HQ, and I saw it, and I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. It was a completely different format than Movie Talk, but it still somehow didn't offer anything new, and the conversations never felt any different. Like, maybe that speaks to the industry in general. But I like he did his own thing, and ultimately he's just doing what he did at Collider.
I respect the shit out of him.
I respect him too for pioneering this space. And I mean, there was a time when he left Collider the first time, I wrote a freaking love letter to him because it was at a time when I had just discovered all of this, and
you gay, bro?
He was a massive reason for all of it. So I give him that credit. I wouldn't even say that I hate John Campea. I know that Brad's probably joking when he asked the question, but when I talk about Campea now, I've heard a lot of things behind the scenes, ways that he's treated people that I don't particularly agree with. There were just parts of him on screen, like I said, that annoyed me, and he rubbed me the wrong way, and he just always came off as someone who there was something off about him. Not in the same way that there was something off about, like, say, an Andy Signore, if you will. Not to that extreme, but there's just something about him that I didn't care for after a particular time, and I just don't agree. A lot of the things that I've heard behind the scenes, I don't agree with a lot of the decisions he made or did not make for Collider, and so I just it's more of me. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like the industry can grow beyond him, so I don't like when I'm fine with people, being passionate and following him, but he's not the end all be all either.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, some people are just for you and they're not for you. I mean, I'm more of a Stuckman guy, and you're more of a flick pick guy. I mean, that's just how it is. Like I said, I respect the hell out of him. Don't have any problem with him. I think Collider is better off without him, just because, I think it went as far as it could go. That's just my personal opinion.
Delisha wants to know what our dream vacation destination would be.
What? I'm sorry?
Dream vacation destination. I would say Hawaii or Australia.
I still would really love to go to England, just because I think it's I don't know, there's a lot of history in England that I would just love to explore. I still would love to go see all the different soccer stadiums in England. I definitely don't want to go to Australia. I have no desire to do that. There's far too many things there that could kill me. I knew people. All right, one of my best friends lived in Australia for a while. He said that you couldn't, any body of water that you went in, you had to ask, are there alligators in there? Like, it's a very real issue. Like, you can't just jump in water.
Really?
Yeah. Any water, even pools, like, for the most part, you have to be careful. And
that's hilarious.
Be a fucking alligator in there. Or crocodile, even. Crocodile is much more dangerous than an alligator.
Right.
Where else would I like to go? I
would like to go to Italy. I would like to go any place.
To go to Italy.
I would like to go to
Taylor
Greece
would love to go
too.
to Italy or Greece. Here's the thing about Greece. So
they're bankrupt.
Yes, and it's actually very affordable to go to Greece and go to an all-inclusive resort. Justin Vernon went to Greece, got depressed, and came back and wrote an album about it. So, which may may not be factually true according to some jackass person. Taylor wants to know if anybody has minis. I don't know what that means.
Mini shields, Jay.
Ask Drake. You want me to text him? Aubrey. He just said 666. Do you have any minis? I've got 666.
Stephen Sawyer, this will be the last question. Would you agree that Alien Covenant was a strong contender for biggest cinematic disappointment of 2017? Personally, I guess he's saying it to Alien, not it. Personally, it and The Snowman were my picks for worst films of 2017. I think Alien Covenant being the worst film of 2017 is hyperbole. It doesn't offer anything new. It's a very weird hybrid of an Alien prequel and Prometheus sequel. And I know that sounds weird because Prometheus is supposed to be a prequel, but by design. But it is two films in one in that way, and it's very, very awkward. I think it's hyperbole to say that because it's still well made for me. There are just some things in it that don't work, but it's gorgeous. It's still well acted, and ultimately just a horror movie that maybe doesn't offer anything new. But I would say the most cinematic disappointment for me was The Mummy. And part of that is because I still haven't seen it when I was so hyped on that trailer. But also at the same time, I was excited, even though I don't care about the monster universe in general, I was excited to see what that might be like as a cinematic universe. And because it looked like an action adventure movie based on with Tom Cruise, and I thought the trailers were so strong, I think The Mummy is one of the biggest cinematic disappointments of last year.
Yeah, if I'm just going to go outside the box here, and I'm talking really, really big picture, I think Blade Runner 2049 is one of the biggest disappointments in movie history, because if you think about in a different perspective, obviously it's a great film, but the fact that nobody saw it, the fact that Do you answer me this? Do you think the fact that nobody saw it affected what happened with its nominations at the Oscars? Do you think if it was a bigger film, it could have had more Oscar recognition?
No.
Okay, fair enough. But I just think that the fact that nobody saw that movie and so many people ranked it as their favorite movie of the year.
It's a great movie.
And I mean, the fact that its budget was so big and that hurts the fact that we could maybe ever get another one. I mean, that's a big issue, man. Like, that's a really, really big issue, and it's unfortunate. I didn't see Alien Covenant. I think Alien in general is a massively overrated franchise, like insanely overrated. The fact that the second one is arguably the best one, and it feels nothing like the rest of the series. Right? I mean, is that a fair statement? The second one is an action movie, and I
don't know anything about 3 or 4, other than they're not regarded as good movies.
David Fincher. He did 3.
It's his worst movie, probably, considering he wanted nothing to do with it afterwards, and it's panned by everybody.
Isn't it funny how many movies come out now, and like it seems like a lot of their revitalization techniques or their sequel techniques to elevate them to a new level is to take an Alien 2 approach and just make it like straight action.
Stranger Things too?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's a cool approach.
What was the other movie I was going to bring up? Kingsman 2.
Yeah.
Kingsman 2 was a disappointment because I was such a big fan. I was a huge fan of that franchise, more than I am of Alien and more than I am of Blade Runner. It was just kind of a whatever sequel to me. I don't know. I just didn't respond to it the same way that I did the
I
first
feel like
one.
I should have other good examples. And this was of 27...
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, and we're sort of talking about sequel letdowns, right? Like, what are some movies that you were super, super, super high on that you thought were going to... I mean, I guess The Mummy is a good example of something that was supposed to launch something else. I mean, you could throw out Batman versus Superman.
That wasn't last year.
I know, obviously it wasn't of last year, but that was a big upset.
Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League was, pretty unfortunate. I don't know, man. I don't see enough bad movies. I don't see enough bad movies to warrant me being like overtly disappointed by them, especially ones that are supposed to like lead off franchises like that. I just don't have a lot of experience in that regard.
Tomb Raider's good. Tomb Raider's better than all the movies we just talked about. Except Blade Runner.
I'll probably watch it when it comes out on iTunes for rent only. Not gonna buy it.
It's just a good sit down and watch it kind of thing. It doesn't change the game by any means.
And it's okay for movies like that to exist.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
I thought Black Panther was like that.
You're wrong.
Am I? It's
one of the best MCU movies, without a doubt. The way that they handle all of those characters.
I think most
Oh shit, there's a truck.
I think most MCU movies are just good sit down movies. They're not going to challenge your thought on what film could be. Right?
The best ones do. Iron Man does. Civil War does. What do you mean?
They're popcorny, fun movies.
Iron Man was taken so seriously. Even though that is a fun movie, it was taken so seriously. It looks so good. It completely changed. A lot of people talk about how The Dark Knight changed superhero movies. The Dark Knight changed the cinematic landscape pretty much for every other movie except superhero movies. You know what I mean? Because it was Iron Man, same year. Iron Man is what changed the template for superhero movies. Dark Knight changed the template for other movies.
I think all MCU movies, every single one that's ever existed, is very, very safe, tame, play inside of a box sort of film. And that's okay to be that way. I honestly think only Christopher Nolan's Batman films have ever pushed the boundaries of what a superhero movie can possibly be, with the exception of a movie like Chronicle. No MCU movies have ever really challenged themselves outside of maybe stylistically of what they're doing.
I would say Iron Man, Avengers, Guardians,
but see, that's
Civil War.
But see, isn't that Black
Panther,
Civil War, sort of? But isn't that all like very slight stylistic changes in terms
Winter
of
Soldier,
in terms of the types of movie that they are, like that they're a lot of the stuff you're talking about is genre, like minute genre specific shifts.
There are also movies that I think
storytelling.
ask questions on a social level as well. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But like Civil War is just proof that you can. All the people, whenever a superhero movie or whatever movie, franchise movie comes out, and they argue too many characters, Civil War goes, that's not even a problem. That doesn't have to be an issue. Too many characters,
an achievement
and
for
so
sure.
will Infinity War. Both, again, the Russo brothers.
Maybe.
Okay. Fair.
What if Infinity War is awful?
You're right. I mean, it's...
All of us are.
What is it? Okay, we talked about what the... I think it was it The Force Awakens when we had this conversation? It was like, what does this movie have to do, ultimately?
Last Jedi.
Was it The Last Jedi?
Yeah, because this podcast didn't exist.
But we still talked
for
about
Force Awakens.
We still talked about it. It was, what is this movie, like, even though we're excited and it might be one of the biggest movies of all time, what does it have to be better than? And I can't remember if it was The Force Awakens that I was like, ultimately it just has to be better than the prequels. Like, even though I have greater expectations, it's going to be okay if it only... And look, it's kind of a funny thing to look back on. What does Infinity War have to do to where you go, that was worth it? Is it... Do you sum it up to... It just has to be better than Civil War?
No.
It just has to be better than the first Avengers?
No. Even if it falls short of Civil War, I'd still be fine with it. I mean, so what? If a movie's an A instead of an A+, it's still a good movie. It just needs to be good. Like I just need it to be. I need it to be fun. I need it to be a ride. I need it to be an experience.
Thanos has no choice but to be the best villain. When we leave,
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think he has to be.
When we leave that theater, if Thanos isn't the best Marvel villain, period, then I think that's I think that's something that I would say would fall short.
If I give
MCU.
if I give the movie a B at the end of it, I'm still going to enjoy it. I would have issues with it, obviously, and that's okay. I don't need it to be an A+ movie. I don't. It doesn't.
I'm
need
not
to
saying
be.
that.
I know, but that's
It. I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be different than a lot of other Marvel movies, but I think it's going to just be a different kind of movie in general. Because again, it's so spread out, and it might just be in like 3 massive chunks. You know what I mean? Because there's so much to do at once, and so many characters. Like there are going to be a lot of Marvel characters that come in and might have like one line.
Yeah.
Because it's serving the greater MCU to include said character and to bring them all together. But ultimately, at the same time, you have to sacrifice War Machine not playing an instrumental role, maybe just coming in for a cameo and then getting out of there.
So
it's gonna be a weird movie.
I haven't watched Avengers much over time, and I rewatched it recently. I think Avengers has some really, really big problems in it, like huge issues. I don't want it to be anything like Avengers. Avengers feels so isolated and secluded to that one movie. Like all the way down to like their outfits.
I think Captain America's outfit looks so dated in that movie. It's so blue.
It looks awful. It looks like he literally bought a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And put it on.
It
Looks like I could buy that outfit.
But there's probably reason. And again, we can only have this conversation because we're so many years removed from it.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. So one of the reasons why the Avengers to me feels so isolated and removed is because we've moved on past that. We've gotten better movies.
The Avengers at the time was probably such a hard movie to make.
Of course.
Because of how you bring all of those characters together. It had to have been so difficult. And I can imagine the result of that is, okay, well, let's have them all on a helicarrier for an hour.
Right.
Like that. Like, I don't know what else to do because it's so risky to bring all these stories together.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was very, very difficult.
I agree. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. So Taylor can
That was
hear
our
footsteps.
after party. What a weird episode. It's kind of a fan favorite for me, though. I liked what we did here today.
Are you the fan?
Yeah, I'm the fan.
Okay.
I'm going to listen to this.
Good.
Let's plug some stuff. So we have 2 episodes left in Counterpart. So be on the lookout for those recaps. And then the week after that, Jay and I will be getting right into Legion Season 2. Legion's about to come back April 3rd. It's on a Tuesday. We'll figure out our recording schedule for the recaps.
You were quizzing me on people's names in that show. I don't even remember what. What is Legion's name? What is his real name?
David
David
Holler.
Didn't know. Forgot.
Do
Terrible
you
names.
remember the name of the villain in season 1?
Shadow King.
Yeah, very good.
We didn't know that until the last episode. I mean, we knew it, but we didn't know it. We weren't privy to it. Where can they find you online? Did you tell that already?
I was in the middle of the plugs.
Okay, cool.
Also, join us on the Sight and Sound Facebook group. Link is in this very description, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WhatUpSnell.
Shout out to Evan.
Ethan,
Shout out to Ethan.
the guy in the Fortnite game.
That's right.
Ethan.
You can find me at Jaye Williams, J the A to the Y to the E on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same for both. More Than Music episode 2 drops March 27th. Make sure to subscribe wherever you need to subscribe. Our podcast feed, our YouTube channel, all that stuff. Join the Facebook group if you want to participate in the Yeezy Bracket Challenge. It's a good time. Taylor needs to join. So does Ethan.
We're going to invite Taylor and Ethan to the Facebook group.
Yeah. You guys can come hang out with us and vote on your favorite
Is Ethan the
Kanye
Star Wars
songs.
fan?
Yes, Ethan is the Star Wars.
Ethan's a Star Wars fan.
Let's get Ethan in there.
All right, let's get Ethan in.
All
right. What else have I got going on? Some Life.
Brave the
Separator.
Storm's upcoming.
Brave the Storm. Yeah.
New album 2018.
All right, that's all I got.
What comes first, Brave the Storm's album or Sight and Sound Sports?
Goodbye.